victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
What's up, everybody, on a Tuesday morning, actually just after Tuesday afternoon. So I'm looking to make sure she's usually pretty prompt. Caroline Leavitt called a press conference for noon today. Normally she goes at 1 o'clock, so she's going to be a little bit earlier in her press conference, probably because of this. Looking at the schedule that Monica posted as well today, we've got a 12 o'clock press briefing. At 12:30, President Trump and J.D. Vance have lunch. And then at 1 o'clock, First Lady Melania Trump will deliver remarks at the 19th International Women of Courage Award ceremony. And then 3:30, President Trump signs orders. So they probably wanted to make sure that Caroline Leavitt was off stage before Melania Trump makes her speech. So I understand that. So as we normally do, excuse me, when I cover press briefings, they're pretty much almost like military. She's going to come out at any time right now, and she's going to take the podium. When she takes the podium, I am going to cut to the feed, the first feed. While that's running, I'm pulling up second and tertiary, third feeds. And so at the beginning there is going to be some switching around till I hear which feed actually sounds good today, because you never know. It's live streaming, and they're streaming it as well. So we'll see which one is the best feed. We'll go with it. Normally she goes for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. And with Melania's event coming up, it's probably going to stick very close to that. She's going to want to be off stage by 1 o'clock. Then after she's done, I've got a couple things I want to get into. And then at 2 o'clock, I've got an interview with a PR expert that I want to talk about what Trump is doing right now. So that all being said, we are now just waiting for Caroline Leavitt to take the stage, or podium rather, and as soon as she does that, we will immediately cut to it and hear what she is going to be talking about. More than likely, what is going to come up, and you guys you could probably write the script for today. What's probably going to come up is what's happening tomorrow. Everybody wants to know what exactly is going to be going on with Liberation Day, including myself. I can't wait. I'm excited. I want to hear what are they going to do about Liberation Day. So I hope you guys are all ready for Liberation Day tomorrow. Got your Liberation Day t-shirts ready to go. I'm also going to talk later on about what Ron DeSantis is doing down here in Florida. We're about to have no property tax on top of no sales tax, and that's going to be very interesting as well. Tonight I'm doing a very, how can I say this? Very different kind of show. Robin and Ashley and I, we sat down and we talked, and I said, I want to go to a more structured show where I'm having specific segments at specific times so that I can put up a banner and say first story, second story, third story, fourth story, whatever have you, so you know what's coming up. And it's some of them may not have a lot of video, some of them may just be talk involved in terms of me talking about a subject. And tonight I'm going to delve into everything that's wrong with what the Democrats are doing against Elon Musk and how it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I think you have to admit, none of what you've been seeing for the last couple weeks makes any sense whatsoever. None. This is a guy who they applauded, heralded, put up on a podium, elevated him. He's doing electric vehicles. Everything is so great. And now all of a sudden, everything ain't too great. You got to wonder why. So we're going to delve into that at 7 p.m. tonight. I really hope you come back for that and be ready. Also, one of our newer sponsors is 1775 Coffee. So I'm going to be doing a read about 1775 Coffee. And since it's daytime, nighttime we give away hoodies. Tonight I'm going to give away 5 bags. Nice. I'll get you a copy so you can see one. 5 bags of 1775 Coffee. And all I'm going to do is ask a trivia question. And the first 5 people who get it right, or maybe I'll ask 5 trivia questions. I'll see. We'll see how that goes, but we're going to give away some 1775 coffee, completely free to you. The only thing I ask is that when you taste it, you send me an email, something so I can say, look, Joe liked it, and Shirley liked it, and hopefully I get 5 out of 5. So we'll go with that. That being said, still looking. She hasn't come out yet, which is kind of odd. She's usually very, very punctual, so I'm not sure if she's getting more information about Liberation Day, which should be hilarious tomorrow. Let me see what you guys have to do. Awesome, love my coffee. Yep, you're going to get some for that. Very concerned about Wisconsin. A lot of people have texted me. A lot of people have reached out to me on X and asked me to talk about Wisconsin and the special election here in Florida. And it's hard for me to do so other than get your butts out and vote. That is the only thing I can say about either of those 2 races, because we're not personally involved, is to get out and vote. If you're in Wisconsin, go vote. Don't wait. If you're in the Florida 6th District, don't wait. Go vote. I don't live in the Florida 6th District. Down here, the district, you have to live where the local election is being held. I've told you many, many times, more times than I can even count. Republicans, for the most part, seemingly don't know how to win. Today's proven it. Today, hopefully it proves me wrong, but if it does end the way people are saying, it will most assuredly prove it. We are in a position right now where we can stomp these people out, eliminate the Democrat Party, and there shouldn't even be any question as to what's going to happen in either of these races. There is no justifiable reason why every person who's MAGA or Republican, because sometimes they're not the same, isn't out there voting today in Wisconsin, knowing full well what the result could be, knowing full well that if we don't win this, we're probably going to lose a couple seats in the House, because they've made no bones about it. They are going to redistrict the entire area just so that they can put Democrats in. So knowing that, if you live in Wisconsin and your butt's not out at the polls voting, what the hell, you can't wake up tomorrow and go, oh, that sucks. You got to know how to win. You got to finish. There is no sports analogy I can give, because nothing I could tell you will ever illustrate to you how to win unless you actually perform. You've never seen a boxer have somebody on a rope and go, I don't want to hit him again. Doesn't happen. The person's on the rope and there's only two ways that fight's going to end. Either I'm going to beat you into submission or the referee's going to call it. That's it. I need to pound you until you go no more. You've seen MMA, you know, the submission holds, right? Tap out, tap out. We need to be making the Democrats tap out, and we're not making the Democrats tap out. All right, here comes Miss Levitt, and we'll get to this.
Good. You all. I want to start today by addressing the U.S. Army soldiers who went missing while conducting a mission to repair and tow an immobilized tactical vehicle in Lithuania in the early hours of March 25th. Tragically, 3 soldiers were found deceased in Lithuania yesterday, and it pains me to confirm that today the 4th soldier was also found deceased. The President, the Secretary of Defense, and the entire White House are praying for the victims' friends and family during this unimaginable time. This is another stark reminder of the selfless sacrifice of our brave military men and women who risk their lives around the world every day to keep us safe. God bless them. On another note, at our southern border, there is more massive news. Southwest border crossings in March fell to the lowest level in American history, down 94% from March of last year under President Biden, when 137,000 illegal aliens poured across our wide-open southern border. Thanks to President Trump, rather than serving as travel agents for illegal aliens. The Los Angeles Times captured the Trump effect on the border with a recent article. Their headline read, "California-Mexico border, once overwhelmed, is now nearly empty." With so few migrants coming into the U.S., they wrote, "Shelters that once served migrants have completely closed." Deportations of illegal aliens who threaten the safety of the American people are also continuing at a rapid pace. Over the weekend, the United States military transferred a group of 17 violent criminals from the Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorist organizations to El Salvador. And an illegal alien who was released by the Biden administration into our country was just arrested in Georgia and charged with the horrific killing of Camelia Williams, a mother of 5 and grandmother. The suspect has now been indicted on charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, rape, aggravated sexual battery, and necrophilia, which, for those who don't know, necrophilia is a sexual obsession with a corpse. This suspect was ordered to be removed in July 2023, but the Biden administration allowed him to stay. This case represents the ruthless murderers, rapists, and pedophiles who Joe Biden and Democrats let into our country over the past 4 years through our southern border. They should have never been here in the first place. Keep this in mind the next time you see Democrats protesting future illegal alien removals from our country. President Trump is focused on fulfilling his greatest obligation, to keep the American people safe and to defend our country from violent invaders. Looking ahead to tomorrow, April 2nd, 2025, will go down as one of the most important days in modern American history. Our country has been one of the most open economies in the world, and we have the consumer base hands down, the best consumer base. But too many foreign countries have their markets closed to our exports. This is fundamentally unfair. The lack of reciprocity contributes to our large and persistent annual trade deficit that's gutted our industries and hollowed out key workforces. But those days of America, beginning tomorrow, being ripped off are over. American workers and businesses will be put first under President Trump, just as he promised on the campaign trail. The president's historic action tomorrow will improve American competitiveness in every area of industry, reduce our massive trade deficits, and ultimately protect our economic and national security. President Trump's economic vision is rooted in common sense. America will offer companies the lowest taxes, energy costs, regulations, if they make their products right here in the United States and hire American workers for the job. It's simple. If you make your product in America, you will pay no tariffs. We have already seen a number of the largest companies in the world respond to this economic approach. For example, Project Stargate, led by Japan-based SoftBank and US-based OpenAI, and Oracle, announced a $500 billion private investment in the United States-based artificial intelligence infrastructure. Apple announced a $500 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing and training. NVIDIA announced it will invest hundreds of billions of dollars over the next 4 years in U.S.-based manufacturing. And the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company, TSMC, announced a $100 billion investment in U.S.-based chips and manufacturing. These are just a few of the investment announcements that have already been made, and it is clear that President Trump's America First approach is already working. In our new media seat today is Mark Halperin, the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Two Way, a new live video platform that builds communities around interactive conversations with leaders and content creators from every subject area. Mark and his colleagues welcome all voices into discussions that are spirited but respectful. They have over 37.5 million video views, over 3.6 million watch time hours since the platform began just last year. This is new media in its truest sense, allowing the people to ask questions, make comments, and be an active part of engagement on the most important issues facing the country and our world. With that, Mark, please kick us off, and welcome to the briefing room.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it. I'll ask you a question about tariffs and then one from one members of our community about education. It's perceived by some that companies or countries, if they change their policies either before tomorrow or after tomorrow, can have the president alter what he's planning for that country or that sector. Is that a possibility? And if so, what factors the president consider in making those changes?
Well, the ultimate change for these companies and these countries, Mark, will happen when they decide to do business in the United States of America. And as I just laid out, they will face no tariffs at all if these companies choose to invest here in the United States and to move their production and their manufacturing here to the United States as well. As for tomorrow, the president will be addressing the decades of unfair trade practices that have ripped our country off and American workers off. It has hollowed out our middle class. It has destroyed our heartland, and the president is focused on reshifting our global economy to ensure that America is once again the manufacturing superpower of the world.
So if they do something today or later in the week that's a pledge for future activity, would that be good enough potentially to alter the policy?
Again, the president has been looking at the very unfair trade practices of the past. Certainly, the president is always up to take a phone call, always up for a good negotiation, but he is very much focused on fixing the wrongs of the past and ensuring that American workers have a fair shake.
So if someone calls after tomorrow and says, hey, I'm ready to make a change, he'd be open to that?
The president is always open to taking calls.
Okay. A question from one of our community members. Katie Reeves is a school teacher in Wisconsin. She's taught K-8 in public, independent, private, and private schools. And here's what she wanted me to ask you. She says, I see the elimination of the Department of Education as an excellent first step in the improvement of our school system. Do you see any further role the federal government can take beyond this, possibly in promoting the expansion of voucher programs or reducing the influence that teachers' unions hold over our schools?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Katie for her service to our country and our nation's children. Being a teacher is the most noble profession that we believe one can have. And the president said in his remarks when he signed the executive order to dismantle the Department of Education that he loves our teachers. And in part, this order is to empower our teachers to have greater decision making in the classroom. Nobody knows our nation's children and our students better than our teachers who are with them every single day. As for the federal government's role, to get to the heart of Katie's question, the president has made it clear to Linda McMahon that we need to find other places within our federal government for critical programs regarding education. Pell Grants, Title IX, lawsuits, etc., civil rights lawsuits, all of that are critical functions, special needs programs, nutrition programs, but there are other places throughout the federal bureaucracy where those things can happen and work. The Department of Education has been a very bloated bureaucracy. We spent trillions of dollars on this department, and for what? Our children are worse off as far as education goes today than they were when this department originated, and that's very concerning to the president. So,
the two issues she cited, are those priorities for the president? School education choice, vouchers, and diminishing the role of teachers' unions?
The president is very supportive of both of those things, particularly when it comes to school choice. He has said that school choice is the civil rights issue of our time, and he wants every child, regardless of zip code, socioeconomic status, how much money their parents have, to be able to go to the school of their choosing that best suits their educational needs. And he is going to empower state and local leaders to make those decisions on behalf of our nation's children. Thanks for being here, Mark. Jeff.
Just changing subjects for 1 second. The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader, of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore. And it is within the president's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping. And every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia. And the president, the attorney general, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
The vice president said he was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning. Steve.
Has the president fully made up his mind on the level of tariffs to impose tomorrow? We keep hearing about a 20% flat rate.
The president said last night he has made a decision and a determination. I was with him in the Oval Office earlier, and he is going to announce that decision tomorrow. I don't want to get ahead of the president. This is obviously a very big day. He's with his trade and tariff team right now, perfecting it to make sure this is a perfect deal for the American people and the American worker, and you will all find out in about 24 hours from now.
And are the car tariffs going to go into effect on April 3rd as scheduled?
Correct. Yes, they will.
Okay. And last thing, would you like to respond to the Chinese military drills around Taiwan?
Yes, I would. As a matter of fact, the National Security Council briefed me on this morning, and they said that the president is emphasizing the importance of maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait, encouraging the peaceful resolution of these cross-strait issues, reiterating our opposition to any unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force or coercion. That is directly from the National Security Advisor. Just for you, Steve Holland of Reuters. Monica.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Elon Musk this week revealed that Doge found that the Biden administration issued over 2 million social security numbers to illegal aliens, found 20 million dead people marked as alive in the social security system. Has the White House confirmed these numbers with Elon, and is the White House looking into correcting this?
I'm not sure about those specific numbers that Mr. Musk cited. I can tell you what the Social Security Administration has said themselves, according to an Inspector General's report that was conducted last year, showing there was nearly $80 billion worth of fraud in this program. We know for a fact there are individuals who should not be receiving benefits on the Social Security rolls, and this administration is focused on cleaning out the waste, fraud, and abuse in every agency, but particularly in Social Security, to make it stronger for our tax-paying, law-abiding citizens who deserve these entitlements and programs. Because you did bring up Doge, I do want to tout the incredible efforts that have been made at the Environmental Protection Agency, and Administrator Lee Zeldin is just doing a tremendous job. Just yesterday and today it will be going into effect. He announced that taxpayers will be saved $8 million in annual lease costs by moving staff out of the 323,000 square feet of space that the EPA currently occupies, which is completely unnecessary. Yesterday, Administrator Zeldin also announced he will be shutting down a museum that the Biden administration built to tell a selective story about the EPA's history and climate change. It was a real pat on the back to President Biden. And Guess how much American taxpayers paid for it? $4 million for this museum that I think only 1,000 visitors saw last year alone. And it will cost American taxpayers $600,000 per year to operate this museum. Well, it's not going to exist anymore. We're going to save taxpayers those critical funds. And Administrator Zeldin is very proud to announce that. And just at EPA alone, and the cuts that they have made, they've saved taxpayers more than $22 billion in wasteful grants and spending. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. When the president goes down to Florida on the weekends, does he ever hear from, there are so many retired folks down in Florida, does he ever hear from any retired Americans who are stressed about these wild swings in the stock market because of the tariff uncertainty, and they're sitting there on fixed income or living off a 401k, and they don't know how much money's going to be left?
Well, certainly they are legitimate concerns, and the president takes those concerns very seriously, and he's addressing them every single day. And tomorrow's announcement is to protect future generations of the senior citizens you mentioned. It's for their kids and their grandkids to ensure that there are jobs here in the United States of America for their children to live the American dream, just like they presumably did. And as for their worries about their 401ks, their Social Security, I just addressed Social Security. This president is always going to protect it for our tax-paying senior citizens. As for their 401ks, look at what President Trump did for you in his first term. He is working on implementing that economic formula every single day by lowering inflation, lowering energy prices, massive deregulatory efforts, while simultaneously effectively implementing tariffs, and they'll hear more about that announcement tomorrow.
And you said that the president right now is with the trade and tariff team. They are very confident that this is all going to work. But what if
Yes.
they're wrong?
They're not going to be wrong. It is going to work. And the president has a brilliant team of advisors who have been studying these issues for decades. We are focused on restoring the golden age of America and making America a manufacturing superpower. And again, Peter, I would point you to the investments that have already trickled into this country. And the president hasn't even made his tariff announcement yet tomorrow. There have been billions of dollars in private investments from around the world pouring into American communities. What does that look like for those watching at home, for the people you mentioned worried about their own economic circumstances? It means more jobs in your communities, which means more money, more investments, more money in your pocket. That's what the president is committed to. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the president's commitment to tax cuts, which we are counting on Congress to do, especially on Social Security.
And one more.
Sure.
Are the special elections today a referendum on the president?
I think first of all, as you know, I'm a government employee now, so I'm not very much allowed to comment on elections that are taking place. That's something to get used to, having just been on the campaign trail for quite some time. But the president is the leader of the America First movement and the MAGA movement. And that was made very clear on November the 5th when he received nearly 80 million votes. I could also say that it is the constitutional right of every law-abiding American in these places where these elections are being held to vote, and every American should exercise their constitutional rights. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. A few questions about this deportation case. First, I wanted to clarify something that you said to Jeff a few minutes ago. You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted and for what?
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain in this country. So are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge work for?
He's an immigration
It was an
judge.
immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi, who has committed to eradicating MS-13 from our nation's interior. And let me tell you why we've made this commitment. MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They hacked 4 people to death with machetes in a park on Long Island. They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a teenage girl in Texas after she insulted them, allegedly. Killed and mutilated a 17-year-old girl in Virginia, stabbing him 16 times and cutting off his hands. They beheaded and cut out the heart of a man in Washington, D.C. They raped and murdered a 13-year-old girl in California. They sex trafficked a slew of young girls, including one who was just 12 years old. Raped an 11-year-old girl in Brooklyn while her brother was in the room. Sex trafficked a 13-year-old in Maryland and Virginia, miles away from this White House, even beating her 26 times on her backside with a baseball bat. Pressured homeless New Yorkers to undergo unnecessary surgeries such as spinal fusion in order to bolster their fraudulent lawsuits. These are vicious criminals. This is a vicious gang. And I wish that the media would spend just a second of the same time you have spent trying to litigate each and every individual of this gang who has been deported from our country as the innocent Americans whose lives have been lost at the hands of these brutal criminals. We maintain our position, and very strongly so. Jennifer.
One more on the tariffs. Can you say what the latest thinking is on the start date? I know you were just in the Oval. Are they all going to take effect this week on the reciprocal tariffs? And whenever they start, is that enough time for companies and everyone involved to adjust to that start date?
My understanding is that the tariff announcement will come tomorrow. They will be effective immediately. And the president has been teasing this for quite some time, as you know. He's talked a lot about April 2nd as Liberation Day in America. It would be taking place today if not for April Fool's Day. But tomorrow will be the day, and he's been talking about it for a while. And as a result, you've seen these companies make commitments to investing right here in the United States. Jasmine.
Thank you so much. I wonder, back on tariffs, if any market indicators is the White House looking for to see if this tariffs plan is successful down the line?
Well, look, the president has been asked and answered this question about the stock market and whether he's watching it. And I've said, and he has said, the market is a snapshot in time. Yesterday, Dow futures were up. And there's been a lot of talk about the market, and it was up yesterday. So, look, the president wants to ensure that all Americans make out well, particularly Main Street. That's the focus of these tariffs. But as I've said repeatedly, just like they were in his first term, Wall Street will be just fine. Shelby.
Thanks. A bipartisan pair of senators sent a letter to the president today arguing that the recent strikes in Yemen are emboldening the Houthis and saying that Congress has not authorized war against them. Is the administration planning to consult with Congress at some point or going forward regarding the strikes, and any response on the letter?
Well, I would absolutely reject Congress's claims. Who made those claims in Congress?
Senator Jeff Merkley and Rand Paul.
Okay, well, I would absolutely reject those claims. These Houthi strikes have been incredibly successful. Last time I was at this podium, there were more than 100 successful strikes. There have now been over 200 successful strikes against the Houthis. Iran is incredibly weakened as a result of these attacks, and we have seen they've taken out Houthi leaders. They've taken out critical members who were launching strikes on naval ships and on commercial vessels, and this operation will not stop until the freedom of navigation in this region is restored, which is a critical principle. And this president stands behind our Defense Department, who's doing a tremendous job.
And are they going to, is the White House going to confer with Congress going forward on this?
I would have to ask our team here at the White House, but the president is well within his authority, as is the Secretary of Defense. Again, these are defensive strikes. The Houthis have been launching attacks on U.S. naval vessels and commercial ships for quite some time. Go ahead.
Caroline,
Yeah.
The pause on the Canadian and Mexican tariffs, the fentanyl tariffs, that's set to expire tomorrow. Is the president considering extending that pause?
Look, I will let the president speak on the specifics of the tariffs tomorrow. But as for fentanyl, we have seen this has certainly caused a national security crisis here in the United States. Fentanyl continues to be the #1 killer of young people in this country, and the president is very much focused on that. Deanna.
Thank you, Caroline. The president recently signed an executive order on making D.C. safe and beautiful. On the campaign trail, he talked about making New York great again. Does he have any plans on establishing a similar task force? Has he been pressuring Governor Hochul in any way in his conversations about New York and lowering crime?
Well, he has been in correspondence with Governor Hochul quite a bit on the issue of crime, also on the issue of congestion pricing, and so many other issues that are facing New Yorkers. And he wants New York to clean up their streets just as he does here in Washington, D.C. He also speaks to Mayor Adams as well. So he's engaged with state and local leaders across the entire country to ensure they're doing their part to help American citizens in each and every state, regardless of if it's a red state or a blue state.
A question on Russia. Yesterday, the Russian government said that their new goal is 160,000 conscripts for the war. Has the president seen that number, and does he have any response given his recent conversations on peace talks?
Well, I can tell you what the president said last night, and that is he is frustrated with leaders on both sides of this war. He wants this war to end. There are men that are dying on both sides, and it's been going on for far too long. Our team continues to be engaged with the Russians as we are with the Ukrainians, and the president continues to be very, very much engaged on this topic every single day.
Caroline.
Sure.
Caroline,
Sure.
The president said over the weekend that he couldn't care less if prices went up on foreign cars because people buy more American cars. There's been consensus from a lot of economists that these tariffs could raise prices on other goods as well. Is the president comfortable with Americans on Main Street paying more because of these tariffs?
The president is doing everything he can, and this entire administration is doing everything we can to bring down the cost of living in this country. An inflation mess that was fueled by the previous administration's reckless spending, overburdensome regulations that this administration is focused on slashing every single day. I just read you a statistic just from the Environmental Protective Agency alone. We're saving taxpayers money that's ultimately going to drive down inflation, and we're unleashing the might of our energy industry, which will bring down prices as well. To the heart of your question, because this is very important to the American people, you should trust what this president did for you in his first term. He effectively utilized tariffs while driving down inflation. It was a record low 1.4% when he left office, and he's focused on getting back to that. It's unfortunate the previous administration left us in this mess. Sure.
Representative Anna Paulina Luna left the Freedom Caucus over their lack of support for her bill that would allow new parents to proxy vote around 12 weeks around the birth of their baby. Does the president support that bill?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually talked to the president about that bill, but I certainly can and can get a take on if he supports it or not.
Thank you. And one more. The D.C. Circuit ruled last week that the president can fire holdover Biden appointees of independent agencies. Will this ruling empower President Trump to dismiss more federal employees?
Well, the president has given the responsibility to his cabinet secretaries to hire and fire at their respective agencies, and they reserve that right. You saw the Secretary of Health and Human Services announced more layoffs today. This is all part of the administration's effort for a mass reduction in force in the federal bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C. to save American taxpayers money. As for agencies within the president's executive authority, the president retains that right. And we've seen there have been bureaucrats at some of these agencies that have been trying to act independent. They need to remember who they work for. It's the executive of the executive branch. You look at the United States Institute of Peace, for example. There was a little bit of a standoff with bureaucrats over there who didn't want to realize who they work for, and that is Donald Trump. And President Trump is focused on streamlining these agencies to save American taxpayers money, and he has every right to do that.
Caroline.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah.
In Gaza, the bodies of 15 rescuers have been found in their sort of ambulances where they were apparently killed by Israeli forces. Just wondering if the White House is going to be calling on Israel to investigate that and to try and avoid similar casualties involving rescue workers in the future.
Well, as for the specific situation you just mentioned, I'll talk to the president about it and our national security team. What I can tell you is what I've spoken with the president on. He very much remains committed to backing Israel, and it was only because of this president and his team's leadership that we had a temporary ceasefire in Gaza, that we were able to bring many hostages home. And the president made it very clear to Hamas, you get the hostages out, all of them, or there will be hell to pay. And Hamas is certainly witnessing what it feels like for all hell to be paid, and the president supports Israel's right to defend itself.
Any progress at all on a ceasefire at the moment, as far as the president's concerned?
The president and his team continue to be engaged on this every single day. Sure. Go ahead,
So I'm just wondering, related to that, if you have an approximate date for the president's first foreign trip. I think there was a little confusion yesterday about what month he was talking about. And then will he need a ceasefire to be in place or closer, either in Gaza or in Ukraine, before that trip takes place?
The president will be heading to Saudi Arabia in May. As for specific dates and details, we will be reading those out to you as soon as we possibly can. I know our teams are working on the details of that trip. And then again, as for a ceasefire, the president's made it clear that's what he wants to see in Russia and Ukraine, and his team continues to be engaged on it every day. Kelly.
Signal, you said case closed yesterday. Do you, as that case was closed, do you have anything that you can share about what was learned, how this can be avoided in the future, any sort of findings from that investigation?
The case is closed, and the president continues to have confidence in his national security advisor. Yes, Kelly.
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 Thanks, Caroline. So
Sorry,
the president
Ed.
has said.
Ed, I'll come to you after.
The president.
I'm glad you're so eager to ask a question.
It's Liberation Day.
Yes, it is.
Caroline, the president has said foreign
Tomorrow.
countries and companies will eat the cost of tariffs. In his speech on Inauguration Day, he said, quote, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
Right.
So then why did he have to tell the domestic automakers not to raise prices?
Well, that was a private conversation that was had. I'm not sure if that comment was made or was not made. But as for what the president said in his Inauguration Day speech, he's absolutely correct. A tariff will be a tax on these foreign nations, these foreign companies, and if they want to be absolved of that tariff, then they can come here to the United States of America to do business, bring their jobs here.
Yes.
Edward, go ahead.
Thank you. So Canadians have been negotiating with the Commerce Secretary over the trade, the tariffs. How many companies are mutually talking with the U.S. or countries are mutually talking with the U.S. to lower tariffs?
I don't have a specific number, but I can tell you there have been quite a few countries that have called the president and have called his team in discussion about these tariffs. But again, there's one country the president cares most about, and it's the United States of America, and doing what's best for the people who elected him to this office to restore their jobs, their wealth, and their prosperity. I'm looking at the clock. I have a hard out today. I have a hard out today because I'm actually heading over to the State Department with the First Lady of the United States. She will be delivering remarks at 1 o'clock this afternoon at the 19th International Women of Courage Award ceremony with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, that starts at 1. This is the 5th year Mrs. Trump is participating and standing with brave women leaders who embody American values abroad. And the First Lady, in her remarks today, will highlight the profound connection between the love and courage that will be shown by this year's honorees. I encourage everybody to tune in at 1 o'clock, and then we'll see you all tomorrow for Liberation Day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Caroline.
Well, I knew that was coming. Pretty much called it by the second that she's going to have to get out of there and go run to Melania's event. Of course, once Melania begins talking, if it's being televised or streamed somewhere, we will definitely try and grab it. And so we can figure out who's got it, and from there we'll figure out how to get it to you guys. So let's do a little bit of recapping, shall we? My first note here is that what the hell has happened to Peter Doocy? I can't tell you. That was one of the stupidest questions I've ever heard. Doocy's never been that way. What if it doesn't work? Well, if it doesn't work, you're pretty much the same as you are right now. That's pretty much the answer to that, Steve. Peter, rather. You didn't need to ask that question at a press conference. Today's press conference, in my mind, was completely useless. And they're beginning to become more and more useless as the days go by. Not her fault. It's not Caroline Levitt's fault whatsoever. These people just... It's pathetic. And I love Monica. She did a good job. And a couple people asked some good questions, but for the most part, the media is completely irrelevant. They are not asking questions that Americans want to have answered. All they want to do is get a gotcha question and run out. I mean, how many questions were about this MS-13 dude who got miscatalogued? He's still MS-13, and they're freaking out because this guy who's involved in doing all kinds of really nasty stuff, that he may have gotten on the wrong boat. How about the fact of what he did or his organization did to so many people? They don't care. They don't care. They just show complete ambivalence. We don't care about Americans. That's not who's paying our salary. Our salaries are being paid by this guy and this globalist and this. We're not here to talk about America. We're here to destroy Donald Trump. That's our objective. We don't have anything else to talk about. They talked about these soldiers in Lithuania. Again, you're sitting there, you're asking questions, and nobody asked the question that I want to know. Maybe some of you guys want to know, because my hand would have went up real quick. Excuse me. Yeah, I saw that. They fell in some mud and quicksand or whatever, and they all died. What the hell are we got soldiers in Lithuania for? Nobody else in this room? Nobody wants to know why we have soldiers in Lithuania? We lost 4 American soldiers today because they fell into quicksand, and not a single person in that audience asked, it sucks. I feel for them. Pray for the family. But that being said, what the hell are our soldiers doing in Lithuania? Nobody asked. And I'm thinking to myself, she came out and basically gave condolences to the family. And next question. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. I feel for these people sometimes because they're so rooted in their objectives and they don't think. If you notice, most of these people, when they're about to ask a question, they're doing this. They're reading the question off of their phone. So if the tariffs start tomorrow and the stock market goes down and the yen does this, what does it mean for the dollar bill next Wednesday? I'm like, whose question are you reading? You got a question, come in there. You should know what your question. The day she brings me in there, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to have the question ready. I ain't even got to look. How you doing, Miss Levitt? Thank you for calling on me. Here's the question. Oh, wait a second. Now you've answered. I got a follow-up question. Thank you. You're fantastic. Keep going. Call one of these idiots now. Because they're not going to have the kind of question I got. It's all fake. That's how you know it's fake. I think every one of you, every single one of you, if you got a call and said, hey, listen, you've been invited to the White House press room. You get to ask 1, maybe 2 questions. How long are you going to do some research and figure out what your question is? And then when you actually get there and you're up in front, remember, these people get 1, 2 questions maybe. Most of them get none. So you get that 1 question. Here's your shot at bat. Hey, what happens if the tariffs don't work? Dude, did you really just say that? Did you really just say that? Unbelievable. You know you'd go in, your question would be memorized. You'd know exactly what you were going to ask because you've thought about it. You care about the answer. And you're not going to look at some cell phone or some notes and read it off. That means somebody gave you that question. You didn't have it. Somebody gave it to you. And Peter Ducey, you know, he can afford to ask stupid questions. And that's what the problem is. He can ask stupid questions because he knows tomorrow or next Tuesday or wherever, he's going to be right there in the front row again and they're going to call on him. So he can afford to waste a few. Yeah, what happens if it doesn't work? I know you'll call me tomorrow too. When Trump gets up there tomorrow about Liberation Day, he's probably going to give me 3 or 4 shots. So I can ask stupid questions. Dumb. Defending MS-13 is something I wrote down. If you've noticed, there's a continuing trend that's going on with the media defending deportations. Why? Why is the media defending deportations? Who does it benefit to have these people stay here? That's a question people need to be asking themselves because, again, this doesn't make any sense. As she said, and I've said that before too, I mean, these people are in your backyard. Are you okay if you go to work and come home and your wife and daughter have been dealt with? How are you going to feel? You've been going into press conferences and writing articles and doing everything, hits on TV, talking about this Trump administration is racist, fascist, and Nazis, and yeah, they just did stuff to my wife and daughter. Now you can't complain. You see, because for a year or months or whatever, 4 years of the Biden administration, you never said anything. It was like it just didn't exist. And we're watching women and children just get annihilated, and you never even reported it. And so I pray that you never, as a reporter in a city somewhere, have to deal with that. Because I couldn't imagine the absolute mind F that you will go through when you realize I've been defending these people who just abused the hell out of my wife or daughter. You are going to need some serious psychological help at that point. Serious. Because right now it's arm's length away. It's over there. It happened there. Oh, it happened to those people. Oh, it happened to those people. What happens if it happens to you? See, I wonder. Because I know as a man, whenever Robin leaves the house, she knows how to take care of herself. But I always just wonder, man, I hope everything's okay. If I don't hear from her from an hour, I'm like, hey, you all right? Yeah? Okay. Where you at? Oh, I'm at the mall. I'm not here. I'm over here. Okay. Just checking. Make sure everything's okay. Check your six. Make sure you're aware of your environment at all times. She's like, yeah, I am. And she is. I know she is. Sad that you have to be like that. Sad that you have to wonder and keep your head on a swivel. But as a man, that's first and foremost. Ashley and the kids are on vacation right now. Yep, they got another vacation because kids are out for spring break, extended spring break. And I'm thinking to myself, you okay? Everything all right? You protected? Don't go here, don't go there, be careful. And you have to think that way. And these reporters don't seem to think like anything's off limits. They haven't even reported on some of the stuff that has happened. And then you're sticking up for MS-13. And I'm glad Caroline Leavitt finally came out today and said something that everybody should know and that everybody should talk about. Is that these people don't have any rights. Everybody keeps saying, well, how do you know? And how do you make sure? And, don't they have the right to do? They don't have shit, excuse my language. They're not supposed to be here. You don't get rights inferred upon you just because you swam across the Rio Grande. You don't all of a sudden step foot and go, hey, now you can't touch me. I am in America. Hell no. But they let you think that they have been inferred all these rights. They are now deemed, somebody tapped them on the shoulder and said, you now have all the rights of an American. It's BS. Media doesn't talk about that. Caroline Leavitt did. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to take some comments from you guys as I'm watching to see where we are with this speech from Melania, is the fear tactics of the media. And the fear tactics of the media are meant to scare people who don't know any better. I show it a lot on here, and I'll show it again. Let's look at Tesla stock, for example. And if you look at Tesla stock, let me pull this up here. Okay. All right. I'm not showing this, not telling anyone to buy Tesla stock. I just want to show you something. And this is what a savvy person has to understand when you talk about the stock market. Again, here's the year to date. Ooh, it's down 28%. Here's the last 6 months. So depending on when you get in, the picture looks completely different. Oh, I got in 6 months ago. Whew, man, I'm up 6%. Oh, I got in a year ago. Oh my God, I'm down 28%. Oh, I got in a month ago. I'm only down 3%. I got in 5 days ago. I'm only down 3%. I'm in it today. I'm up 6%. So what did I just illustrate to you? It's not a lottery. When you're looking at markets and you're understanding prices may fluctuate, things may move around, and you see something like that, and you say, oh, it shot up. So it shot up. At one point, it was up to 277, which would have been a pretty good win for somebody. Then it dropped, people bought the dip, and it came right back up. But if you look at, say, the 1 month view perspective, the thing you want to look at is that. It's all perspective. It's not a casino. The markets, your personal financial situation, you're not sitting there rolling the dice every morning hoping you can make some more money. You're investing. Investing, unless you're a day trader or a flipping trades, is not something to get in today. And hopefully you can make money tomorrow. If you do, because many people do, it's because they have the ability to absorb that kind of loss. When you're talking about prices in the market, and the market fluctuates, and you want to see more up than down. And then when you go to the grocery store, what these people are saying is, what are they going to do? Because the prices are going to be up higher. I would have said the exact answer to that question that people need to hear. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, is telling you when you go to your local grocery store, this is what you have to buy. They're not holding your arm behind your back and saying, that's what you got to buy, and it's more expensive today. As far as I know, when I've gone into the grocery store or used Instacart to buy things, I see a whole bunch of different kind of stuff. You can have Heinz ketchup, which is my preferred ketchup. You can have Hunt's. You can have the store brand. There's a whole lot of things on that shelf. When you're looking at potato chips, there's Lay's, and there's, Cape Cod, and there's this one and that one. There's a whole arrangement of different things you can buy. A smart shopper doesn't just say, the prices are up for, Lay's potato chips. Okay, what about the Publix is our grocery store. What about the Publix potato chips? Oh, yeah, they're cheaper. If you eat potato chips. The media acts as though they're trying to cause people all kinds of harm. And in that harm, it's because they're trying to drive a frenzy. They're trying to see if they can scare you. If they can make you feel as though Trump has done you wrong. Anybody who's lived through the last 4 years understands, again, the word I use is contrast. We didn't go. Remember the chart where President Trump said he turned and he got shot in the head. The number was way down the bottom, and then it jumped back up. It jumped way up according to what Biden had done. The gas prices I have on my phone where I was paying $1.99 and $2, and it shot way up. Media doesn't talk about that. It's come down from where it was, but it went up 3 cents last week. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. And also it's zip code based. What I pay for gas here, Rob and I have driven down the road, and as we're driving down the road, I'm like, wow, how is the gas, same kind of company, 40 cents cheaper here? Well, there's no answer to that. But you know what I did, right? Honey, let's just fill up here. It's 40 cents cheaper than it is at the house. We only went to, looks like about 5 minutes and 2 miles, and the price is different. Become a good shopper. Download Gas Buddy. If you guys aren't familiar with Gas Buddy, now you need to be familiar with Gas Buddy. It'll show you the price of gas in a certain mileage around where you want to live, or wherever you live. And maybe this one is $4 and this one over here is $2.99, and you say to yourself, well, I don't want to spend money to go get gas, but if I'm happen to be over there, or if it's cheap enough, I'm going to go buy gas there. You have to learn to work within the market, not just satisfy with being taken advantage of by the market. It's two different things. Many of you may be members of Costco. Costco, right down the road from me, the gas over there, really cheap. Really cheap. You can get gas at Costco. Go for it. People need to use the brain God gave them, what makes the most sense. It's pretty simple. It's very simple. Let me just make sure she hasn't come out there yet or anything. Okay, she will be up soon. And again, we're going to go with the 2 different feeds so you guys will have it. But I just often wonder, this stuff that I tell you guys is very matter of fact for how I live my life. If this light, not now, but if this light were to go out and I need to replace that light. Well, I'm going to replace it, hopefully with the same. But if the one that's the same is too expensive because it's from China, then maybe this one from, El Salvador, or this one from Best Buy in America, oh, I'm going to buy this one. Just be smart, man. Use your head. Don't let these people, especially in the media, don't let them be the ones who dictate to you how you're going to run things. It's worth a little discomfort for the changes coming. I'm telling you, I'm going to go out on the limb. You ready for this limb that I'm going to step my big butt onto? There's no discomfort. Yeah, I said it. My life isn't going to change one bit by any tariff anywhere. I can say that with 100% confidence. My life will not change. My wife is an amazing shopper. She will come to me and she will say, "Hey honey, what's this? I don't eat this." "You do now." Okay, that's the end of the conversation. "Hey, I didn't order that. I didn't tell you to put that on the list. That's what I got. This is what we're eating this week. You go, girl." No discomfort whatsoever. So I challenge you. And this is where sometimes people are like, "Barry, you stepping on the toes?" Yeah. I'm challenging you. It's for you to tell me. Okay, hold on. They're starting. I'm challenging you to tell me how you're going to have any discomfort. All right, so they got a pre-speaker up on stage right now. Let me go ahead and cut to this. But think about that question. Hold on. I want to make this point. 1 second. Oh, you don't hear it. I hear it because it's playing. You don't hear it. Anyway, think about that. Tell me how you're going to be in any sort of discomfort. Let's cut to some of the people who are talking in advance.
Testament to the importance of this award and the work it represents, a clear and powerful statement that the United States strongly supports the participation and protection of women and girls, the defense of their human rights, and their empowerment. None of this would be possible without leadership and support at the highest levels, starting with President Trump. Thank you to First Lady Melania Trump and Secretary Rubio for your deep, long-standing commitment to women and girls globally. We are so thrilled to have so many members of the Cabinet and Congress and their staff here as well. I'm so proud to be here representing SGWE. Our mission has been to promote the rights and empowerment of women and girls globally as a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy. As President Trump said, when women are empowered to participate in civic and economic life, their communities, their families, and countries are more prosperous, healthy, and safe. My office works across three main areas that, as the Secretary outlined, advances the President's America First vision. Making America safer by ensuring the protection of women and girls from violence, a central part of securing our border, combating terrorism, and fostering global peace and security. Making America stronger by advancing women's meaningful participation in political, peace, and security processes, leading to longer-lasting peace and stability around the world. Making America more prosperous by supporting women's economic empowerment and fostering American investments, innovation, and interest over our strategic competitors. Now, the International Women of Courage Awards highlight the critical role women play in peace and stability. The 8 individuals who you will learn more about in just a moment embody those American values abroad and promote efforts that their countries and regions are more secure. I am pleased now to introduce their stories to you. Please see the screens.
At the House of Hope, I lead efforts to support survivors of gender-based violence, social accusation-related violence, and trafficking in persons. I am passionate about shaping a network of change makers to build a country where everyone can live free from violence.
Experience as a child marriage survivor motivated me to start up the organization so that I can be able to tackle issues of early marriage within my community and South Sudan at large. WODE has empowered more than 15,000 survivors in the community.
أعمل في مجال المختطفين والمخفيين قسرا والمعتقلين تعسفا. نعمل مع الأمهات وبنات الرابطة والنساء المختطفين من أجل الإفراج عن أبنائهم، والسلام دائما يبدأ من قلوب الأمهات.
Every person with disabilities deserves fair treatment. This is my life work and the mission of my organization. The work continues, but we are confident we have tools. Change is possible.
La question des droits humains est très problématique parce que mal compris, j'ai des motifs de satisfaction quand je réussis à convaincre les autorités à défendre un défenseur des droits humains, et aussi quand des personnes braquées contre les droits humains me disent: Madame, à l'issue de votre sensibilisation, j'ai compris, je m'engage à sensibiliser ma communauté.
On October 7th, I was taken hostage by Hamas terrorists. I survived 55 days in captivity. Upon my release, I vowed to tell my story because keeping it inside would destroy me. Courage for me means standing up for what you believe in. It means being true to your values and choosing hope and love even when faced with darkness.
I'm a journalist, and that's how I want people to see myself, and that's how I've made people see myself. The corruption story is unfortunately not going to end, and the impact I want to have is not to change governments. I want systems to change. I want laws to be put in place. I want institutions to be strengthened so that people are not able to abuse them. And that is what we have, as investigative journalists, always fought for, and that's what I will keep fighting for.
Conserving Tubataha is ensuring the food security of the country. As a marine protected area, we have become a model for other marine protected areas. We have brought pride to the country, and we have contributed to the global conservation goals. For me, courage means making a decision, making one's choices despite the uncertainties.
I think you can see the clear courage amongst all these incredible women. Now, it is my distinct honor to introduce, from the great state of Florida, like myself, our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Go Gators! Secretary Rubio has been a long, dedicated champion for women and girls around the world. As a U.S. Senator, he worked tirelessly to advance policies that strengthen women's roles in peace and security efforts, recognize their critical contributions to global security and American strength. He also worked to ensure that girls, particularly in conflict zones, have access to education. He played pivotal roles in making sure their efforts to end violence and human trafficking, striving to create safer environments for women and girls around the world. As a father of daughters, I know his passion for these issues is also deeply personal, driving his commitment to a future where all women and girls have the opportunity to lead, succeed, and thrive. Mr. Secretary, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for all of you for being here. Madam First Lady, thank you for joining us. We're so honored you would be here today with us at the State Department. All of our award recipients, you'll hear about them more in a moment. You saw that video, very moving, very touching. We'll learn more about them. All of my colleagues and distinguished guests. A special recognition for the members of our cabinet who are here today. Why don't you guys stand up so we can recognize you? Our Attorney General, the Secretary of Small Business, of Education, and of Labor. And we're missing Tulsi Gabbard because she's probably spying somewhere right now. So she's busy. But Thank you for being here and joining us on this. And good afternoon and welcome to the State Department. This is a beautiful room. We don't use it often enough, but this is an appropriate setting in which to use it. And we're so grateful to be honoring this year's International Women of Courage awardees. This has been going on since 2007, when one of my predecessors, Secretary Condoleezza Rice, instituted this award. And since then, we've recognized over 200 women for their work promoting peace and prosperity and human rights in communities and in countries across the world. And what we recognize here more than that is not just their work, but the fact that they do so oftentimes at extraordinary risk to themselves, to their families, to their loved ones. Not just important work, but work that took courage. And that's why we recognize 8 women with the International Women of Courage Award here today. I'd briefly like to honor a leader. You saw her a moment ago, Katrina Fotovat. Did I say that right? Katrina, we call her Kat. Okay, there. And she's done a great job. Without you and your team putting this together, it would not have been possible. Thank you. Not just important work, but work that took courage. And that's why we recognize 8 women with the International Women of Courage Award here today. I'd briefly like to honor a leader. You saw her a moment ago, Katrina Fotovat. Did I say that right? Katrina, we call her Kat. Okay, there. And she's done a great job. Without you and your team putting this together, it would not have been possible. Thank you. I want to also personally thank the woman of courage who lives in my home, my wife Jeanette, who rarely gets to join us. But, and I say that relatively speaking because, courage is, there are challenges with 3 kids under 22 years of age or 23, as you know, especially a 17-year-old that's still in high school, and they had the world figured out. Anyway, thank you, because without her, I would not be able to do this. So we thank you very much and for being here today. At the State Department and under President Trump, we try to take every opportunity to defend and to promote women and girls across the world. During his first term, President Trump made women's economic opportunity an imperative. He established the Women's Global Development and Prosperity Initiative, which to date has reached over 12 million women worldwide. At home, during his first term, female unemployment reached the lowest level in 50 years. President Trump also signed the Women, Peace, and Security Act, a bill that I was very proud to have been a co-sponsor of when I was in the Senate. And it was the first comprehensive law passed in any country in the world, first law passed by any country anywhere in the world, focused on protecting women and promoting their participation in society. President Trump is also working now to fulfill his promise to end a brutal war that's going on in Europe as well as in the Middle East. Wars that aren't just costing the lives of soldiers and civilians, but where women in these wars, in these conflicts, as you will hear somewhat today, are kidnapped, and they're assaulted, they're displaced, they're killed, their families are in danger. And one of our honorees today knows that too well, because on 7th October of 2023, Amit Susana was abducted from her home by Hamas. And upon her release, she shared details of the sexual violence she endured as a hostage, which allowed medical professionals to document the atrocities that she suffered. And this was at a time when people were denying that these atrocities were being committed, and even blaming Israel for Hamas's brutality. Her bravery, her advocacy brings much needed attention to the scourge of sexual violence and conflicts all over the world. Even as I speak to you now, there is sexual violence going on somewhere in the world in these various conflicts. It is a scourge. There is so much more to be said about the accomplishments and the courage and the leadership of each of these great women. And let me reaffirm the importance of protecting women and girls and promoting their well-being are American goals, but they also happen to be a strong goal of our president, President Donald Trump. So to our honorees, congratulations and thank you for your work to create a safer and more secure and just world. In a moment, it'll be my distinct honor to welcome the First Lady of the United States to speak to you. She too is a woman of tremendous courage and of great accomplishment. She's an inspirational leader through her Be Best initiative and her work now advocating the Take It Down Act. She's protected women and girls online and promoted their health and well-being. So, Madam First Lady, thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward to continuing to work with you to promote the well-being and prosperity of Americans. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome, it's a great honor to welcome the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump.
Thank you. Please sit down, please. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, Secretary Rubio. Throughout my life, I have harnessed the power of love as a source of strength during challenging times. Love has inspired me to embrace forgiveness, nurture empathy, and exhibit bravery in the face of unforeseen obstacles. Today, we celebrate courage, a strength that is based in love. This truth is illustrated through our honorees, who prove that love can inspire extraordinary valor, even in the face of vulnerability. Their remarkable stories, a testament to the power of love in practice for family, community, and our world. This is especially evident in places where their passion defies convention and where it has been shown at great personal risk of stigma, persecution, or harm. The courageous Georgiana Pescu, one of our award recipients, exemplifies love in action. Georgiana is a watchdog who defends the dignity of Romanians whose voices cannot be heard. She fearlessly enters facilities designated as care centers to rescue people with disabilities who are unwittingly held captive. In fact, Georgiana usually shows up unannounced and discovers the unimaginable. Helpless adults and children bound, sedated, starving, and in extreme cases dying. Thanks to Georgiana's brave work, dozens of offenders have been charged with human trafficking, exploitation, and even organized crime. We are honored to join an exceptional assembly of brave women who have shown their love and refuse to let fear or hardship define them. Their collective achievements and dedication move us all. Let us also take a moment to acknowledge those who persist in their struggles. For each of them, love serves as a powerful catalyst, instilling in a profound sense of purpose in their endeavors. To the women who are driven to speak out for justice, even though their voices are trembling. To the women who are motivated to rise up for their community when others remain indifferent. To the women who feel compelled to heal wounds caused by hatred and cherish peace. The 2025 International Women of Courage Award recipients came from diverse backgrounds and regions. Yet, love transcends boundaries and territories. It is a universal language. Their courage propels us of humanity forward by advocating to end violence against women and girls, promoting democratic governance, defending human rights, championing education, and fighting injustice. Through their efforts, they instigate progress for all of humanity. These extraordinary women illuminate the transformative power of love in shaping our world. Their journeys remind us that true courage is born from a deep commitment to others, showing that love fuels the call for justice. Through their brave actions, they inspire us to embrace our own potential for change, teaching us that while courage drives us forward, It is love that lays the groundwork for lasting impact. Let their stories motivate us to take courageous steps, knowing that each act of love can spark a ripple of transformation. Thank you, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful remarks, weren't they? Just lovely. Thank you, everyone. I'm Tammy Bruce. I'm the spokesperson for the U.S. State Department. You guys are also great. Great looking room here. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you. So good afternoon, Madam First Lady, Secretary Rubio, Mrs. Rubio, and distinguished guests. Today we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of 8 women from across the globe who have demonstrated unparalleled courage, resilience, and leadership in the face of adversity. These remarkable individuals have shown us that courage knows no boundaries and that the strength of the human spirit can overcome even the most daunting challenges. As we honor these exceptional women, we are reminded of the importance of their work and the impact these women have had on their own communities and beyond. Their stories inspire us to continue striving for a world where every woman and girl can live free from fear, discrimination, and violence. We are deeply grateful for their contributions and for the example that they set for future generations. Their courage reminds us that each of us has the power to effect that change and that together we can build a more just and peaceful world. And they're here with us today, not just on video, but these women have joined us today here on this stage. It is an honor to stand here with all of you. And we have some awards. We're going to begin that right now. Here we go. First of all, Amit Susanna from Israel was the first Israeli hostage from the October 7th attack to publicly recount the sexual violence she suffered while held captive in Gaza by Hamas. By bravely speaking out about the unspeakable horrors she endured, she showed the world the power that one individual can have when faced with unimaginable cruelty. Shall we? Here we go. Amit Susanna. Thank you. Henriette Da from Burkina Faso is a human rights defender and a leader in organizations that promote religious tolerance and women's rights. In 2018, she was appointed president of the National Human Rights Commission in Burkina Faso. Henriette Da. Major Valina Higa from Papua New Guinea is a key figure in combating trafficking of and violence against women for over a decade. Her efforts have caused systemic changes in her country and have helped protect the most vulnerable people. Valina Higa. Angelique Sanko from the Philippines, also known as Mama Ranger, leads a small team of rangers protecting the Tabuta Reefs National Park from illegal fishing and poaching. Her work on maritime law enforcement includes a passion for rehabilitation and conservation. Under her leadership, the reef has seen dramatic decreases in trespassers in that protected area. Angelique Sanko. Mama Ranger. Okay. Beautiful. Georgiana Pascu from Romania has fought relentlessly for decades to secure the rights and safe treatment of thousands of children and adults with disabilities. She is leading the way in helping the world understand that women, girls, and persons with disabilities deserve to be protected. Georgiana Pascu. Beautiful. Zabib Musa Loro Bakit from South Sudan is a women's rights leader in post-conflict settings and has held several regional and national leadership positions. Ms. Bakit is the founder and executive director of Women for Justice and Equality, the leading implementer of women, peace, and security grassroots programming across South Sudan. Zabib Musa Loro Bakit. Namini Vijay Dasu from Sri Lanka is an award-winning investigative journalist, initially chronicling the human toll of Sri Lanka's civil conflict and while working to combat corruption to bring accountability to those in power. Her work not only aims to hold the most powerful accountable, but also fosters dialogue on reconciliation, paving the way for a new generation of reporters. Namini Wajidasa. Ahmad El-Salam Abdullah Abdo El-Haj from Yemen continues to be a powerful voice in bringing international attention to the plight of thousands of Yemeni detainees and their families. Ms. Haj and her organization, the Abductees Mothers Association, has played a pivotal role in documenting the abductions of over 9,500 people and securing the release of 950 forcibly disappeared individuals. It is just remarkable dynamic. Ahmad El-Salam Abdullah Abdul El-Haj. Thank you, everyone. Beautifully done. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, if I may, furthering here, I have the distinct honor of honoring once again, welcoming Amit Susanna from Israel to the podium to speak with you a bit more, providing her remarks about her journey. Amit.
Distinguished guests, fellow women of courage, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Madam First Lady Melania Trump. It's a pleasure being here today. It is with deep gratitude that I stand before you today as an awardee of the 2025 International Women of Courage Award, alongside the courageous women here, women that I'm honored and grateful to have met. This is an honor I never imagined receiving, and one I wish I didn't have to accept under these circumstances. My name is Amit Susanna, and I am a survivor. On October 7th, my world changed forever. I was taken hostage by Hamas and held captive for 55 days. 55 days of fear, of pain, and of being stripped of every freedom I once took for granted. In captivity, I had no control over my body, no control over my life. I resisted as best as I could, but it was not enough to stop what happened to me. The darkness was suffocating, yet even in the darkness, there was one thing they could not have taken from me, the strength my mother installed in me, the belief that we must always stand for what is right, no matter the cost. Courage to me means standing up for what you believe in, even when the odds are against you. It means staying true to your values, choosing hope when despair threatens to take over, and choosing love when confronted with hate. It is an incredible honor to stand before you today, but it is also a deeply painful moment. While I am here, my friends remain in the darkness. 543 long days and nights, they are still suffering, still waiting, still hoping. Their voices remain unheard, so I will speak for them. We cannot move forward until they are free. I vowed that if I would survive, I would never be silent. I would speak not just for myself, but for every woman who had been silenced. When I first told my story, I only wanted to raise awareness about the horrors of captivity and the terror of October 7th. But my story became part of a much bigger conversation, one about sexual violence, about war, and about the unimaginable strength of women in the face of brutality. Women from all over the world reach out to me, sharing their own stories, their own pain. Their suffering is real, their wounds are deep, and yet they endure, because that is what we as women do. Today, I understand the true meaning of freedom in a way that I never did before, not as something to be taken for granted, but as something fragile and scarce. To simply step outside and look at the sky, to see the moon and the stars, to breathe, to choose one's own path. These are privileges I will never again overlook. In Israel, we're about to celebrate Passover, the story of liberation, of breaking free from bondage. But this will be the second Passover that the hostages remain in captivity. And across the world, Christians will celebrate Easter, a time of renewal and hope. But for too many families, there is no renewal, only waiting, only longing. They fear for what their loved ones are enduring and whether they will ever get to see them again. I accept this award not for myself, but in the name of all the brave women of Israel, the women who endure, who led, who refuse to break. Women are stronger. We are the stronger gender, not because we do not feel pain, but because we rise from it, because we fight, not just for ourselves, but for those who cannot fight for themselves. Sorry? 1 minute. This award comes at a critical moment. The hostages cannot wait. Every single day that passes is another day of unimaginable suffering. With every passing moment, their pain deepens, their hope fades, and their chances of survival diminish. I call on the world to act, to bring them home now, not tomorrow, not next week, now. I am deeply grateful to President Trump and his administration for their role in the last hostages exchange, and I trust that they will continue their efforts until every last hostage is free. The International Woman of Courage Award is more than an honor. It is a responsibility. It is a reminder that courage is not just about standing strong. It is about standing together. It is about fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves. It is about choosing justice over silence, action over fear. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the U.S. Secretary of State for its dedication to the International Woman of Courage Award. For years, this initiative has honored extraordinary women who champion justice, equality, and human rights, amplifying their voices and inspiring change worldwide. Their stories remind us all of the profound impact that one person's bravery can have over the world. By recognizing their courage, the State Department has played a vital role in empowering women. Thank you for continuing this important tradition, for supporting these courageous leaders, and for ensuring that their efforts do not go unnoticed. May we never stop fighting for those in the darkness. May we never take our freedom for granted. And may we as women continue to lead the way towards justice, towards peace, and toward a world where no one is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit, for those incredibly powerful remarks. Your story and those of the other women honored here today represent the stories of countless courageous women around the world who each day make their communities and regions safe and more peaceful and more secure. To all of our IWOC awardees, and you all haven't seen this, but they are such sisters right now already, and it's been just a few days, and it's beautiful, and I have so many funny stories to tell of all of them. To all of our IWOC awardees, Henrit, Amit, Major Valina, Angelique, Georgiana, Zabib, Namini, and Ahmad. Your tireless, courageous, inspiring work drives us forward. I'm going to take a moment and quote our First Lady that courage is strength in love. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Your bravery and tenacity to defend the rights and liberties of the most in need embodies American values abroad. May a million flowers continue to bloom all over the world from the power of your courage and voices. I also want to take a moment to, again, acknowledge that the Madeleine Albright Honorary Group Award for International Women of Courage is given to the student women protesters of Bangladesh. And I want to thank all of our awardees for traveling great distances, taking great risk to themselves and their families to accept this award. Our sincere hope is that this award will be a stepping stone that will help you reach more people with your incredibly important work. And we will all, in this room and everyone watching, continue to be champions for those efforts. In closing, I want to again thank our First Lady, our amazing First Lady, Mrs. Melania Trump. Please, another round of applause. And my boss, Secretary Rubio. And Mrs. Rubio for generously hosting today's ceremony. And I also want to thank our spokesperson, Tammy Bruce, for just taking the time to always be such a champion and doing our daily press briefings across the department and continuing to champion the efforts of women. I also want to thank the First Lady's team, as well as Councilor Needham's team, the Assistant Secretary Exner's team, for all their efforts in making today possible. And a huge, huge shout out to our wonderful SGW Secretary Office of Global Women's Issues team as well. And finally, I want to extend our wonderful thanks to our Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs for their continued partnership on the IWOC program, especially our International Visitors Program, for all your steadfast collaboration. We are so grateful for you all to be here today, and there is a reception in the Jefferson Room next door, so please, please join us for that. And again, thank you to all these incredible women of courage. I will invite our First Lady and Secretary to please exit first.
Distinguished guests, please remain seated as our stage participants depart. Thank you.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. It's a great honor. Thank you. I think we probably moved down there. Somebody's going to pay us.
Well, that was pleasant. Very pleasant. Man, didn't expect that as well. And no. Some people were putting in the chat that the media is not covering it. Nope, they won't cover it. Not at all. They don't care. I had to put somebody in timeout. Somebody who's been here a few times. But I still had to put him in timeout because I don't understand how you could watch a ceremony like this, understand what that woman went through, and then say the stuff that guy said. I mean, shut up. That's all I can say. If you don't like it, leave. If you don't like hearing these people's story, leave. I would never think to insult one of these women. It doesn't cross my mind with everything that these people have done. And that's knowing. That's completely knowing that a few of these people most likely are not Trump supporters and are not Trump voters. That wasn't the point of this. This was about women, especially with everything that's going on in the United States these days, where most people can't even define what a woman is on the left. They're up there. They're up there getting awards and acknowledging the power of women. Come on, people. Can't be so narrow-minded to worry about stupid stuff and insulting people. Absolutely crazy. So, in any event, that was a great program. It was a pleasant surprise. I've got Evan Neerman coming up at 2 o'clock, and before that, I'm going to cover some news. That's what's going on. So, but right now, I want to talk to you about Lear Capital. If you guys are looking to invest, protect, hedge, what a great time to think about it. And why I say that is, here's the silver, here's a small gold coin. You don't need $3,000 to get involved. It's right here. Tomorrow is Liberation Day, as far as what President Trump is calling it. And that means two things. One, something big's going to happen. And number two, you better be prepared. Things can go squirrely. Things can go different ways. Like I told you earlier, when I said, I'm not going to feel any discomfort whatsoever with whatever happens with these tariffs, because I know, number one, Robin can shop. She'll find whatever she wants. She's very good at saying, hey, we're going to use this instead of this, and it's not going to affect us one iota. And I'm not talking about being able to afford something or not afford. I'm talking about going in and saying there's two things on the shelf. One's more expensive because it comes from X country, and this one's cheaper. Well, we like this one, but you know what? This one's cheaper. Just because, and I can speak to a lot of people, there are very few things in my cupboard where Robin fills, very few things that are brand specific for me that I can't change. And one of the few things, believe it or not, is just ketchup. I like to have Heinz ketchup. I don't like the other ketchup. I would have to pay more, so if that's a little bit more discomfort, but it's an American company. They're from Pennsylvania. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about Heinz ketchup being more expensive. From a foreign perspective, we got a mango tree out back. We got an avocado tree out back. Trying to think, what do we buy on a daily basis that would be more expensive? Nothing. Just be careful. Understand what you're looking at. This one guy, sometimes people put stuff in here. They don't think I see it, and I'll go ahead and call them out, and they're like, oh my God, you called them out. This dude, Joe Bilsey, higher tariffs lead to higher costs. See, I'm going to put that period where you just did, and I'm just going to stop right there. I'm not even going to read the rest. Prove it. See, that's all you got to say to a lib or somebody who's making a statement like that. Show me in history where tariffs have led to higher cost. I'll wait. Still waiting. Higher cost leads to lower demand. Really? Really? Think about that. If you want something and you can afford it, you're going to buy it. By the way, how much, even if prices go up, how much more do you think the price is going to go up? So if you're buying an item that's $5, a 10% bump is $5.50. Is your life being altered by 50 cents? I mean, seriously. These people who say these things are just parroting stuff. Oh, the higher tariff to lead cost. Prove it. When's the last time we've applied tariffs to people that it resulted in higher cost of goods? Some goods, of course, that's what the tariff is going to do. Just don't buy those. Oops, excuse me. Just don't buy those. Why are you worried about, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to take people and shake and go, quit being stupid. Understand. You're being bamboozled, completely bamboozled by the media into telling you everything. Meanwhile, those of us who do know, we're not worried about any discomfort and we're protected. And one of those ways is by buying gold. As you know, President Trump has assembled the Avengers to make America great again. And of course, we're all excited and ready to see them get to work. But with everything we're seeing right now, don't take your eye off the ball. Things could get much worse before they get better. With the possibility of World War III still looming, and with the Democrats doing everything they can to impede Trump, you still need to keep your guard up and your money protected. Oh, and our national debt is still massively increasing. Don't get me wrong, I have high hopes for Trump's America, but I also have a family to look out for. You see, Trump and the Avengers have quite the uphill battle ahead. That's why I'm making sure I'm protected, and I'm recommending that you do the same. One way to be protected is by diversifying your portfolio. That's why on this channel I've been happy to partner with Lear Capital. As you know, I've been involved in real estate for quite some time. And although I dabbled in gold and silver, Kevin and his staff at Lear have helped to educate me even further, especially in regards to silver. Give Lear a call today and they'll show you how easy it is to move some of your savings or your retirement account into gold and silver. Gold and silver have been proven to hold value and protect wealth for the long term. Call Lear today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com to get your free gold and silver wealth protection guides. There's no obligation, just free information. Many of you have seen my interviews with Lear founder Kevin Demerit, and I can tell you this company is solid and likes to educate their customers. Just so you know, Lear has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $3 billion in trusted transactions, and is the only company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. And when you call, don't forget to ask how you can get up to $15,000 in bonus gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. So if you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity, please call my friends at Lear Capital at 800-601-5430 and tell them Barry sent you. All right, so let me tell you something about tariffs. Since that guy and some people are out there screaming and going nuts about tariffs, have you not noticed how many companies are coming to the America to do business in America that are saying, yeah, we're going to move a lot of stuff in here. Here's like $3 billion, here's $10 billion, here's $8 billion. Why is that happening? Why are the other countries screaming? I haven't seen Howard Lutnick or President Trump or Scott Bessent screaming. Why is that? Why are the other countries upset? Why did Canada take out ads going, hey, your stuff's going to be more expensive? Why? Why is it the other people who are freaking out? Because this is the kind of stuff that happens right here. Let me show you. Israel just removed its remaining U.S. import tariffs in anticipation of President Trump's Liberation Day tomorrow, implementing broad reciprocal tariffs on Wednesday. This is how it's done and how real fair trade is established. Trump's tariff strategy works. Israel nixes U.S. import tariffs a day before Trump set to levy duty on trade allies. Smotrich signs directive immediately scrapping remaining tariffs on U.S. goods, mainly in agriculture, with U.S. President about to hit trade partners with a tit-for-tat duties. Stop listening to the media. They do not have America's best interest at heart. There are forces across the globe that are trying to manipulate things, manipulate the stock market, manipulate the supermarket. They're doing everything they can. Luckily, they don't have much money left anymore because Trump turned off the spigot. So that's probably why he's even more confident. A lot of the stuff and the shenanigans that they would normally do, they can no longer do. They don't have the money for it. And so the day before, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about this throughout the day in terms of other countries going, okay, white flag, we don't want none of this. Don't give us that smoke. Why do you think that's happening? Why do you think Israel went, hey, no, yeah, we're good, cut it. If they're worried about it, Trump didn't care. We're going to hit you. Oh, never mind. Tomorrow, we don't want you to do that. We're good. That's all it took? Just the threat of you being banged with a tariff? And just like that, you fold it? One of the worst enemies people have right now, just like that guy Joe, is disinformation. And maybe it's not disinformation. Let's just call it what it is. Complete ignorance. Oh, the prices are going to go up. Prove it. What prices? Which products? It's funny. While that was running, I went out and I went into our, believe it or not, I put my hand in a garbage and I grabbed this. And it was my recently completed bag of grapes. There's little stems and everything else. And then you look at here and you see, well, yeah, it says on that side too. This is a product of Chile. Not Chili's the restaurant, Chile the country. And if you look up Chile and see, okay, what's the tariff on Chile? Well, none. They removed it. So there's going to be all kinds of different grapes in the store. And if you like dark grapes or you like green grapes or whatever, muscadine, whatever you shop and you look. I'm like, oh no, this looks cheaper. It's from Chile. It's cheaper. You buy what you want. Come on, people. Just wake up with this stuff. Only the sheep watch and listen to mainstream media. Yeah. I'm looking here. We're Israel's best partner. We're everybody's best partner. See, that's the part where the mainstream media and other, people like that other guy, they don't understand. You want to do business with the United States. Everything everybody ever makes, we are the biggest market. We are how you make money. You take this market away, you go broke. So it's absolutely crazy. Did you hear Caroline say that many countries have called trying to make deals about tariffs? This will allow fair trade. The media is lying to you. They're going to find some product that someone's going to buy and they're going to like, it's 50 cents higher. Well, why'd you buy it? I never was one to, get into masochistic type activities. I'm not going to stick my hand in the cage where the tiger is because he's probably going to take off my fingers. So I learned, hey, you don't put your hand near the tiger. Out here with all this kind of water, don't go traipsing into a pond or something where you can't see because, chomp, chomp. So I don't do it. So when you go into the grocery store, and I don't even have to because Robin, she orders her stuff. She already knows what she's going to buy. How many things do you buy that are different than what you bought last week? I'm serious. I know. How do I know this? Because most of our shopping we do via Instacart. If you guys haven't used Instacart, I highly suggest it. It's amazing. You go on it and you pick out the stuff in the store. Ours is Publix. And you say, okay, bring this to me in about an hour. Okay. And then the next time you go on Instacart, you know what it says? Would you like to buy that item again? You click on a button that says buy again, and all the stuff you've previously bought just populates. So I just go, yes, I'd like some more of those. I'd like some more of those. Oh, I'd like some more of those. It's that flippin' simple, people. What is the media trying to do? How many different things do you buy from week to week? Maybe guys don't know. Maybe you think your wife's going through making all kinds of big decisions. Pretty much your wife is just replenishing what you already have. It's almost like running a bar. She has a par system. Hey, we need 2 bottles of Diet Coke, and we're down to 1, so I got to order a bottle of Diet Coke. And I know I need onions because last week I had 5, I've got 2, let me go ahead and buy 3 onions. It doesn't change. Nothing changes. And I'm struggling to figure out who are these people who have different shopping lists every single week. Tell me right now in the chat, do you have a different shopping list every single time you go to the store? Let me rephrase that. Let me stop that. Ladies, because guys don't even think, hey man, that looks good. Let me just grab some of that. That's what they make those, end caps for guys who just don't just wander around and pick stuff up. Ladies who do the actual shopping at home. How much of your weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, how much of your shopping list changes per week? Or is it pretty much the same stuff all the time? You know what the kids want. You know what the husband wants. You know what you want. And then besides food, you got the personal stuff. I bet you use the same shampoo that you've been using for 3 or 4 years. I bet you your husband, boyfriend uses the same deodorant he's used for 3 or 4 years. I bet you your husband or boyfriend uses the same shaving cream if he shaves for the last 3 or 4 years. Nothing changes. This is all a manifestation of the media. It's like, oh, it's gonna be horrible. Everything's gonna be crazy. Well, if you use something like Instacart, guess what else you can do? You can go back and see, what did I pay for ketchup 3 weeks ago? And what's it being sold for right now? Oh, wow. They actually have a 2-for-1. Let me grab the twofer. Oh, let's see. You wanted some oatmeal cookies? The oatmeal cookies last week were this much. This week, they're this much. But you know what? We have a substitution. It's the same flippant oatmeal cookie, but it's from a different manufacturer. I'll click that one. I'm not trying to be redundant and go and beat the dead horse, but I'm pretty sure if I look in the comments right now, most of the ladies are like, ain't much changing. He wants a steak. He wants some chicken. He wants some fish. I might have to change the different seasoning or something. It's the same stuff. We are creatures of habit, and we get used to the same thing over and over and over. In fact, guys, you've had this comment. Honey, where are the XYZs? Because you're supposed to have XYZs in the cabinet. And she'll say, oh, I forgot to get the XYZs. I'll pick them up next time. And you go stomping your feet into your room because you wanted them XYZs really bad. But the reason you want them because you always get the XYZs. So I'm challenging you. Tell me how you're going to feel some discomfort. Because all of a sudden, if you decide, you know what? I've been really jonesing for some caviar. Oh, it's really expensive. That's discomfort. No, I'm going to go back and eat my steak. Barry's cookies. Yeah, I'm a cookie guy. I will admit. Your local shopping center, it has its own brand and is cheaping. Yes, I do my husband's shopping, do the shopping together, make a list before we go. Yeah, and pretty much the list is not going to change. And the reason I'm saying this is because I just want people to take a step back and just think about this for a second. Unless you're buying a car and you're like, hey, I was going to buy a Toyota, but now I got to go buy a Ford. That's a big product. But for the everyday person going to the store, I just want you to block out the media at this point and just say to yourself, yeah, how is my life going to change? Because I've already thought about it. It ain't changing at all. Not at all. You speak the truth. It's not even a matter of like speaking the truth other than bringing the truth to you and realizing I've been married don't get this wrong, going on 33 years. And I know for a fact, Robin says, I'm going to go to Instacart, or she says, I'm going to go to the store. Either way, she doesn't even ask me. She may say, do you want to go? And I'm like, nah, I'm watching a game or something. But I don't ever have to say it. By the way, I really need some avocado toast stuff. Because I don't eat avocado toast. There are aisles in the grocery store I never even go down. At this point, I'm a creature of habit. You're probably a creature of habit. I don't even go down certain aisles. She likes to go down just to see what's going on with sales. I'm like, I'm going in, I'm going to go get some wings, and I'm getting out. I watch a lot of cooking shows, so I change it up. Yes, you may change it up, but think about what you're changing. There's pork, there's beef, there's chicken, and then there's fish. And you may make a different sauce. You may use a different, what do you call it? The one seasoning, but it's the same food. And if you're like Robin, you have a whole cabinet of seasonings. Seasonings I don't even know that they existed. What in the hell is this? What's saffron? What's this? No, I don't know. I just know when she puts it in front of me, like, oh, this tastes good. I have no idea what went in it. I'm like, do you ever use this? What is dillweed, and what is saffron, and what is celery? What is all this stuff? What's fennel? I don't even know. She knows. She's got a whole thing up there with different seasonings. Guys, we have no clue. I mean, unless you're a chef, we have no clue. You get the dish in front of you and you're like, that smells good. That's some good stuff right there. Oh yeah, honey, this is really good. We got to try this again. Am I lying? Ladies, am I lying? We don't have a clue. So if she came to me one day and said, I can't make that anymore. Why? The fennel seed is more expensive. Okay, well, don't make it. Make something else. I don't care. I love your cooking. So I think in 32 years, there might have been like 2 or 3 dishes that I went, no, last. Don't want that. You got to be very careful as you get older too, because you have to learn how to just, if you don't like something, like I'm an anti-Brussels sprouts guy. But then again, she fooled me, because one day she came in, she roasted Brussels sprouts. I'm like, what are these things? Brussels sprouts? Oh, you mean the stuff I don't like? Yeah. These things are good, man. Creatures of habit. We're men. We're men. Last year I saved almost $1,000 at Kroger because my mother taught me how to shop. However, most people just buy you need how to do comparison shopping. Yeah. Well, somebody talked about fennel here. Fennel is my cat's name. Oh, those soy boys are afraid their avocado wheat germ crisps are going to go. Here's another thing. Right down here, I've got my daily vitamins, and I got them. And, we got this one. Here's a nature-made vitamin C, right? But if nature-made vitamin C was too expensive, then what do you buy next? You buy the other one. I'm in Walgreens. They got a whole bunch of vitamin C's. I don't care which one. I don't even know what Nature Made is. I just bought it. And let's see what else we got here. We got Bayer aspirin. So if I wanted, and Bayer aspirin was too expensive, then I would buy Walgreens aspirin. What else we got down in here? Any other goody stuff here? She's got me taking. I don't know what this is. Mega free iron. Yeah. Again, that's what I'm saying. So, I'm going to be bringing Evan on, but I wanted to play something for you, and Evan can see it, so I see him and he's waiting. Let me go ahead and bring in some information about Evan, and that way you can, hold on. I got to bring up his X profile, because I was sitting there just yapping. Didn't realize what time it was, and it got away from me. And my man Evan is sitting here. Let's see, Evan. Hold on, let me find him. So you guys can look him up. So this is going to be an interesting interview for sure, and I want you guys to listen to this video that I found this morning. This video to me was so interesting because it just gives you an idea how lost the Democrats are. We're only going to play a couple of minutes of it because I don't want Evan sitting here all this time. But just take a listen to the beginning of this video, and Evan can hear it as well. Listen to this.
Y'all keep talking about messaging. It's been the word used more than resistance, more than fight. That seems to be your biggest complaint. Why are the Democrats messaging so badly, and what would you tell them to do to fix it? Remember, this will be shown to senators, congressmen on both sides. You're clearly upset with how the Democrats talk. What are you upset about, and what would you change? Chris, you're up first, and then Tim.
I'm upset that I don't see enough of them, or I don't see a united front. I've never seen a grouping. You'll see in hearings one person being very vocal, but I just don't get the impression that they are organized, that they're all on the same page. And that's what they need to get across to the American people. We need to see that. We need to see 50, Congress people together, just like they have the Congressional Black Caucus. Then we need something, we need a Congressional Democratic Caucus, to be honest with you. We need to see them all on the same page.
Tim, what is so wrong about the messaging?
I don't think they're listening to the people, and the people, you can just see it in the AOC Bernie rallies that the people are at a different place than the people in Washington. They're just upset about the economy, about affordability, about healthcare, a whole lot of issues, and that energy is just not in Washington. So get that energy from the people and bring it to Washington.
April, what is it about the messaging that bothers you so much?
I think they're so out of touch. A lot of the people in Congress are doing basically insider trading. They all are lining their pocketbooks with whatever, with the stock market, and then they're not listening to what the needs of the American people. They're completely out of touch with what the average American needs.
Melissa, is it an issue of them being out of touch, or them using the wrong words and the wrong messaging?
I think it's the wrong messaging. I think that they need to stop taking the bait on every little thing that comes out of Trump's mouth and the White House. And we all know it's insane, it's crazy, but they focus more on that. And they need to really ignore that. It's hard to, but they need to ignore that as best as possible and speak to their constituents and listen to them. Get on the ground.
All right. So you're hearing the Democrats arguing amongst themselves about messaging and not having, they're basically saying the same old thing. Fight, fight, fight. Go up against them. Do something, anything. Because they don't have any way at this point to counter what President Trump is doing. And it just seems like it keeps happening. So I'm going to bring on Evan Neerman. And Evan is I guess you would call him, he says he's the crisis communications guy. And when I talk about crisis, it's about messaging and PR and things of that nature. So I got some questions for Evan today, and I want you guys to hear what he has to say, because right now the Democrats are in a crisis. The politicians don't have any answers, and their voters are looking for answers, and they're not getting anything. So let's dive into this. Evan, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you, Barry. You're
All right.
sounding and looking fine, my friend.
Thank you, sir. So do me a favor before I start asking questions. Number one, who are you and what have you done, so people know that? And then the follow-up question is, how do you know when you're in a crisis of communication?
Who am I and what have I done? Well, geez, way to put me on the spot, but we'll go with that. I can tell. This is going to be a great interview. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Communications is what I do. I'm the founder and CEO of a firm called Red Banyan. We work on a national and international level. We counsel individuals, privately held companies, publicly traded businesses, and we help them do something that other public relations firms don't do. They focus on PR. We focus on a different kind of PR called powering reputation. My view, and this applies to this whole discussion we're about to have, is everybody has to invest in powering their reputation. Because at the end of the day, that's the single most valuable asset that you have. And it's at the core of what effective communications is. So I'm an open book. I'm ready to get into whatever you want to talk about. So let's do this.
Well, so the other question was, how do you know when you have a crisis of communication?
Anything that could threaten your reputation or your revenue or in the case of politics, is going to alienate your population, your people, your team, your voters, your constituents, that can be considered a crisis. When people think about crisis, they tend to think about the most extreme examples. You know, oh, the CEO got caught in bed with a woman and it wasn't his wife. And there's pictures of it on page 6. I saw it. Or, you know, this person was shorting the stock at the same time he worked for the company. That's a crisis. Or something that happens, workplace violence, or you name it. A crisis can be something much more subtle. It can be anything that happens that is putting you in a light in which you don't want to be seen. And that could include being panned online. People are writing bad trash about you on glassdoor.com. They're trashing you on X or other social media. They're sending direct messages to Barry Cunningham, outing their boss and saying, this is a bad company. You should talk about them. So crisis runs the gamut. It's defined differently by everyone. But again, what I would say is the good rule of thumb, anything that could impact your revenue, or most importantly, your reputation.
So that's when there's an individual crisis. It compounds and it goes exponentially crazy when there's multiple crises happening at the same time. And at one point, you know, Steve Bannon once said that to make the media irrelevant and feckless is to actually flood the zone. And that's a football perspective. And having played football, let me just tell you guys who are watching what that means. If I'm going to flood the zone in a football game, I'm either going to put more guys over here than you have the ability to tackle, or I'm going to put more receivers over here than you have the ability to cover. I'm going to find your weakness, and I'm not just going to exploit that weakness with one person. I'm going to put my biggest, fastest guys over here where it's very hard for you to defend. So from a political conversation, because most of the people here are Trump supporters, are we seeing the political version of flooding the zone?
No question about it. By the way, I also played football in college, although I played the European variety because my physique is much more befitting the beautiful game of soccer as opposed to football. But we do share a football connection. Flooding the zone is exactly what I would describe has happened during the early months of the Trump presidency. And there is no doubt that the flurry, like Trump hit the ground running. His team was ready. This is not an accident. No. This is not something that just miraculously appeared out of nowhere and they just got really busy the day that they showed up at the White House. No, they had this plan. And part of the plan was we're going to move so fast and we're going to be so aggressive and we're going to do so many things that the media, if they're trying to keep up with us, by the time they're writing a story critiquing us, we'll already be on to the next thing. And they'll be talking about yesterday's news. And they've done it, I think, incredibly effectively. And I think that conversation that you just showed where Frank Luntz, who I know Frank Luntz and I have a lot of respect for him. He does really good work and he does a great job of really pulling out from voters on both sides of the aisle. What are they thinking and understanding their perspective? Look, he showed that the Democrats, because I presume those were Democrats, all in that conversation with him, that Zoom or Teams or whatever, they were just complaining that, you know, they had so many different things and they're like, we have no standard bearer. We can't keep up. One of the women was saying we shouldn't react to everything that Trump is doing. We shouldn't take the bait. Well, guess what? That's good advice maybe to a lot of the mainstream press because they're chasing their tails trying to keep up with Team Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and what you just said is absolutely true. I mean, those of us who were Trump supporters and we watched the campaign and we followed what he was saying, we absolutely love this. And we know that, you know, basically this is everything we voted for. How would you say the media is coping with it? Because there wasn't, as you said, there was nothing hidden. Over the time of his campaign, he told people what was coming. How did they miss it, and what do they do now?
One of the interesting things about Donald Trump is he does tell you what he's going to do. Yeah. So even on the one hand, he's the most surprising guy in the world. because I'm convinced some of the things that Trump says, like you go, I've been there, heard him speak before. When he gets off that teleprompter and he just talks, he doesn't actually know exactly what he's going to say next, but you can rest assured he's going to say what pops into his mind or what he wants to say. And so nobody should be surprised that Trump got into office and he immediately started shaking things up in a huge way. That's exactly what he said he was going to do. But I think that the Democrats underestimated the speed and the shock and awe. You know, that refers to a military strategy that the U.S. employed in the first Gulf War, which was, we're going to come with such overwhelming force and so fast, they're going to be in shock and they're going to be awed by what they see. And before they even know what hit them, we've accomplished most of our aims. And I think that shock and awe, flooding the zone, you pick your idiom, but that's what we're seeing play out here.
And one of the things I know, again, from a sports perspective, is if I catch you with your pants down, if I'm flooding the zone, if I'm overloading things on you, and I catch you during the game, it's very hard for you to react. You may not have the right personnel. You may not have the right things that you can call in response. Your guys may not be prepared for it. And we're just going to keep doing it. And we're going to keep taking advantage of you until you can prove that you can stop us. So at this point, seeing that the Democrats and the media, which are one and the same, how are they going to, how would you advise them at this point to defend against the zone flooding?
Well, that's what's so surprising is, like I said before, you had to know what to expect. You had to know what's coming. And the world in which I live and work and operate is high stakes, rapid response communications. And there is this misperception, and you'll see where I'm going with this quick, because I'm going to connect these dots for you fast.
Okay.
There's a misperception that a crisis is like a bolt of lightning. It just comes out of nowhere. It crashes, you don't know where it's going to hit, and then boom, you can't be prepared. Actually, in most cases, companies can tell with pretty high level of certitude where they're going to have problems based on their industry, based on their past experiences, etc. So that's what's so befuddling about what the Democrats are facing right now, is they're acting as if we didn't have time to prepare for this. Trump is a bolt of lightning. We don't know where he's going to strike next. And therefore, the worst time when you're in a crisis to be putting your plan together is when you're in the middle of the crisis. So exactly. Here you are, we're in April, and the Democrats, they knew who got elected in November. They've had time because Steve Bannon, Trump, we knew we knew they're going to move fast. They were coming to shake things up. But it's so clear that the Democrats didn't have the playbook in place. Just like companies can have a playbook in place, you don't want to be writing the playbook at the same time you're trying to execute the playbook. And I think that's why you're finding frustration among the voters, and why you're hearing they don't know how to cope with what's happening, is because they're trying to figure it out on the fly. And meanwhile, Team Trump's on to the next thing.
How do you do that? I mean, if Chuck Schumer called to say, Evan, you got to help us. This guy is doing so much right now against us. We don't know which hole to plug first. What would you advise people at this point? Not to give them any help, but what do you do?
Oh, wait. Well, if I tell them, they might actually do it. And then you're going to be calling me back after the show and be like, why'd you give the playbook to the Democrats? And you're going to blame me. So before I do that, want me to do this?
Yeah. If there's one thing we all can count on, is that these people are so headstrong that they don't listen to anybody. So they're just going to keep that. That's something I think Trump has built into his plan. He knows they've latched on to something, and they're still doing the same game plan they did in 2016. Here we are 9 years later, and they haven't changed at all. So that I don't think they'll change. So go ahead, tell me what you would do.
All right, you want one thing? I'll give you the one main thing. Unify behind one standard bearer. Designate, come together, and figure out who is going to be that representative. And I think for the Democrats, that's a really hard prospect, because if you look at the polling, What you see within the party is that the people who are liked by the hardcore Democratic voter are not necessarily, they're folks like AOC and Bernie Sanders, and they are not the folks who actually appeal rather to either moderate Democrats or moderate Republicans.
Right, exactly.
And so part of the problem they have is the most popular folks they have are so tilted to the left that it's very hard, and they know that it's going to be a losing strategy. Like you don't want to unify behind Bernie Sanders as your standard bearer, because then the Democrats are going to be relegating themselves to the long term of being irrelevant. But they need, in my view, they need to find someone who is articulate and can actually be designated to be the one main place to which folks should turn to get a unified Democratic perspective, because right now, all these different competing voices, nobody who's really designated, I would have said it would have been, I don't know who it's going to be right now. I mean, maybe it's going to end up being Cory Booker because he's talking for so long on the floor. I don't know, but I would say unifying behind one person and then driving that message. So they should really, what I'm saying is the Democrats, in a way, they should learn from what's worked for the Republicans. And the Republicans, they unified early behind Trump. And he's the master of driving a message and just by the time he's tired of saying it for the 60th time, there's someone who's hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And so if they want to replicate that success, I think, I'm not saying they need to go find their own Donald Trump, because I do believe Donald Trump is a one of a kind. There's nothing quite like him, and his style is unique, and his ability is just, it's different from whatever he can do and say things that no one else can do. But they better find unity and find it fast and designate someone. Otherwise, you're going to have all these little pinpricks of voices complaining about what's going on in the administration. And meanwhile, the administration is like a tidal wave, just washing over everything.
I told you would come up with a solution that they wouldn't follow, because so many people have said you don't have a leader. If people dropped in from another world and said, take me to your leader, you'd be like, I don't know who it is. And so they've heard that over and over, and they can't come up with anybody. So can the Trump administration continue with this strategic assault? I mean, it just seems like tomorrow he's going to be dropping this Liberation Day thing, and then who knows, by Friday he's going to do something else. How many different things do you think he can do? Can this be an ongoing, sustained campaign to keep these people chasing their tails?
Not only do I think it's possible, I think it's likely. And we got the first, don't forget, this is Trump 2.0. We saw in the first Trump presidency exactly what this looks like. And he's got an amazing propensity to just keep the foot on the accelerator and to dominate the news cycle like nobody else. And so not only do I think it's possible, I think it's probable,
right?
Especially because it's meeting with success.
Yeah.
So I don't expect any changes right now. It's, look, I grew up in the Deep South. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in my view, if you're in the administration right now, you're saying we're rolling our enemies. We're just going to keep going until we need to come up with a different way of going about it.
I completely agree with you. And plus, like you said, he's had a number of years to put his game plan together. And so anything reactionary at this point, it's going to look reactionary. It doesn't look like it's been well thought out and well addressed. So speaking about not thought out and addressed correctly, how about the public perception of these judges? It seems like they're about to receive a barrage of negative PR. Are they immune to that? You think that they'll be able to continue just trying to muck up the waters at this point?
Look, I think the issue of the judiciary, it's pretty sensitive. And I do think that's an area where we need to tread carefully, because at the end of the day, part of the strength of our democracy is three co-equal branches of government: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative. I don't believe it's in the long-term best interests of the country to have one overpower the other branches of government to such an extent that there aren't checks and balances. In my view, that's part of what the founders wanted when they created these checks and balances. And the flip side of that coin is I also don't believe that either the judicial system or the legal system or law enforcement should be weaponized. And so I think we need to tread carefully, though, in terms of I don't believe that demonizing the judiciary writ large or judges individually is the way to go. And, that stems also from my belief that win on the basis of your arguments.
Right.
But also, I do believe that we as Americans, part of what we sign on for as this democracy is that we do believe in the rule of law.
Right.
And so I do think you have to be very careful. On the one hand, you don't want to see advocate judges taking the law into their own hands and bending it to their will. But at the same token, you can take it too far. And I do believe that there needs to be respect for the judiciary. And if, in fact, a judge, does make a judgment, it should be respected. Because I just think that's a fundamental underpinning of our society and our democracy.
With the data that's now being revealed by Doge, and you know from a messaging standpoint how many times somebody has to hear something before they either believe it or at least accept it. How long is it going to be before people begin to accept that the government has ripped us all off? Or will they ever?
Who doesn't think that?
Obviously a lot of Democrats at this point. they seem to, they don't want to hear it. They want to ignore it. All those kind of things, and for some reason they're seeing this stuff. And even yesterday with what Elon and Mr. Garcia put out there, it is becoming to me so compelling that you can no longer look away. You have to face this stuff head on. So I'm just wondering from a messaging perspective, one, what would you do to combat the message? And number two, is it even possible to combat an overwhelming flood of data in that regard as well?
So what I would do if I were sitting with Elon, which I'd love the opportunity. So Elon, if you're listening to Barry's podcast, which every smart person does, we should chat because I have some ideas for you. Look, I think part of the message that I would make when it comes to government inefficiency is I think it is important to message don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I do think the danger is, look, I got no problem. You want to make widespread, far-reaching reforms, that's great. But you open yourself up to criticism if people think you're doing it without preserving the parts that are working. So I don't believe it's a winning argument to say it's all broken 100%. We're going to tear it all down. And it's like saying, oh, we've got an invasive species in our forest, so therefore we're going to burn the entire thing to the ground, and then we're going to throw some seeds in there and we're going to sprout it from the beginning. I think that the message needs to be we're rooting out inefficiency. We're trying to clean things up. We have a plan. We also, in addition to, I don't think the message should always be about how everything is so fundamentally broken. I think it should be we're fixing the parts that are broken, but we're keeping the structure that needs to be in place, and we are keeping the things that work so that you get around the criticism that you're just burning the whole damn house down.
So whoever do you think came up with a strategy that, all of us on the right here are racist and fascist and Nazis? How did they ever convince themselves that was a viable strategy? I guess they did because for some time it worked, but it doesn't seem like that is bearing any fruit anymore. Why are they still doing it?
It's a sign of the times, unfortunately. And anyone who's followed me through the years, whether it's on LinkedIn or on X or who has read my books, I wrote a whole book about cancel culture called The Cancel Culture Curse, about why it's happening now and how fundamentally un-American the idea of cancel culture is. And one of the themes that I talk about in that book is really the answer to this question is, unfortunately, the political climate in this country has evolved into tribal warfare.
Yeah.
And I do believe that for the good and the future of America, I don't believe it's sustainable.
Okay.
I don't think either side has a monopoly on having all of the answers. And I do believe at a certain point, we've been pulled so far apart. My hope is that the rubber band will come back together again, and that sane people on the left and sane people on the right can find enough middle ground, because I do think that there is a critical mass of folks in this country who, you know, they don't have extremist views. And, you know, one thing that really bothers me, and it bothers me, and I'm an equal opportunity offender. And for me, I'm a moderate.
Okay.
I vote based on who I think is the right candidate, who I believe has the right qualifications. I voted for tons of Republicans. In some cases, I voted for Democrats too. When I split my tickets, that's just me personally. In my view, though, I do believe that America needs to avoid this trap that we've set for ourselves, where we look at our political adversaries as enemies, because I do think fundamentally there's more that unites us than divides us.
So with the media and the Dems basically one and the same, not really speaking out against violence against Tesla or the illegal gangs and things of that nature, and you're talking about, I love the analogy of the rubber band snapping back together. Are they in danger, because they're not speaking out on this stuff, of losing all relevance and credibility at this point?
Wait, could you? I missed. There was a bit of a freeze, so I missed the first part of the question.
Okay, so with the media and the Democrats not speaking out against the violence against Tesla and seemingly wanting to support, you know, the illegal gangs and everything, are they in danger by doing that of losing all relevance and credibility?
Look, the whole like Tesla thing to me is just it's utter insanity, and it's idiocy. It makes no sense. Like, I own a Tesla. The idea that someone would damage my car because they see my car parked in a parking lot and they're ascribing to me a political ideology, or they think that they can destroy my property because they don't like Elon Musk. Obviously, we've taken a right turn into Looneyville. That's just flat wrong. It's insane. It's crazy. I do think there should be forceful speaking out against things like that. I think, again, extremism is the problem. And I'm not a big fan of extremism, whether it's coming from the right or the left. I don't think it's right. Again, there is so much more that I believe unites Americans than actually divides us. And my fear is, it's only in times where we really have to face a foreign adversary, or a time of war, or when we're attacked, that you see for a brief time the American people come together. I don't want it to have to require a traumatic event or instance. My hope is that over time we can bring ourselves back together as a country and try to find more people who are willing to sit and talk and discuss and debate, not demonize. That's so critical. That's a fundamental part of our democracy too. Barry, you and I can disagree, and I'll bet you there are plenty of issues where we're in complete agreement. And I guarantee you there are other issues where you and I are on completely opposite sides of the equation. But you know what?
Yeah.
We'll debate it. That's okay.
There are some people probably in the chat right now who are like, this guy Evan doesn't seem like he's on our side and things of that nature. And what I want to tell people is, I want to get to that point where somebody can sit down and say, I don't like the artwork behind you. And you can say, well, this is in the office and it was here beforehand. Or I do like the artwork. And then at the same time going, all right, that doesn't make you a complete idiot. And what I have found in talking to a lot of people on the left is we're always 2 or 3 questions away from everything devolving and just tearing apart. Because the confirmation bias that a lot of people have, and in talking to them about certain things, they're not able to. You're moving your artwork.
I'm moving because I've actually got And some people are like looking at my background. They're going, "Oh, the left-wing media." Well, I've got plenty of right of center media over here on the other. It's just this is a narrow frame. And by the way, I'm on Team America, and so if people are concerned and they're in the chat and look, I got a message which is I'm a patriot and I believe in this country,
right?
And so I'm not one team or the other. I'm pro-America. Period. End of story. And I want what's best. And so the message that I have is I want to see the country do well. I want to see our economy thrive. I want to see also a more civil, respectful society. Because I do think that at the end of the day, we're going to leave this country to our kids and our grandkids. And I do think America is the greatest country in the world. I think we've been blessed. I think we've got so many ways that we lead the world, and rightly so. And I don't want to see that diminished. I only want to see that enhanced.
Yeah. So in closing, what are some of the signs, everybody's not going to be a PR expert. What are some of the signs that people can look for that will indicate that either side is shifting due to things no longer being effective?
Look, only time is going to tell how things play out. I think that the mood in the country right now I do think that there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think you see that reflected very clearly in the economy. And so I do think, we're going to see a lot of changes. We've already seen monumental change in a compressed time frame. And with what's going to happen with the tariffs and whatnot, there are going to be ripple effects. And so I do think we all need to buckle up and know that there are going to be some challenging, uncertain times, but change is always scary. And right now, there's a lot of change, and that's why a lot of people are scared. But change in itself can be it can bring a resurrection. It can make you better than you were. And so I think it's very wrong to say, well, the Trump administration is making so many changes, therefore reflexively that's bad. Look, the government, we all know, and I think almost like any American who's honest with himself or herself would say, has government been broken for a long time? Yes. Yeah. Has it been inefficient? Yes. Has there been waste? Yes. Entitlements that have been funded for far too long? Yes. Do we need to make some changes? Do we need to reduce the debt? The answer to all those things is yes. How we get there and the path to get there, it's going to be bumpy, but hey, you can't say we don't live in exciting times.
So one last question before we go, and it kind of dovetails off of what you just said. You write about chaos sometimes, and and this might sound like a trick question because some people are like, well, what do you mean, Barry? Is chaos necessarily a bad thing?
Well, I actually think that it's part of how President Trump himself likes to operate.
Right.
And so, look, chaos itself is not inherently bad because there are some people for whom chaos is the worst thing in the world.
Right.
And they can't cope with it. And it gives them deep anxiety and it's awful. For other people, they use chaos and they use it very effectively. So no, I don't think chaos inherently, how people perceive it is up to them.
Right. Exactly.
But I also think that a lot of, look, anyone who's in business, especially entrepreneurs and small business owners, which are really, a lot of the backbone of our economy. Anyone who's had to try to find a way to make payroll or to keep your business running so that you're taking care of the families who work for you, that things get chaotic a lot of the time.
Right.
And so, no, chaos is not necessarily bad if it leads to growth and constant improvement. And look, Elon Musk, more than anyone else, that guy knows how to build businesses.
Right.
He knows how to reduce waste. I would never bet against Elon. So all these people who are hating on him and saying, they're finding all these different things to criticize about him. I, for one, think if we could take some of the best practices of what he's done in terms of revolutionizing industry and SpaceX and Starlink and Tesla and all these, and if we can bring some of that same efficiency and bring that appetite for change and that entrepreneurial spirit and apply it to the bureaucracy that sort of became archaic, let's do it.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Well, Evan, thank you very much for taking your time. I didn't mean to sandbag you at the end there, because I personally actually like chaos because it challenges me. And when I see something in chaos, I don't freak out. I don't repel. I go, okay, how do I fix this? I like the crisis. I like to be in that person that has to try and fix a crisis. So I understand exactly what you're saying. Thank you very much for coming by today, and I hope you didn't mind. We ran late with Melania's speech, and then I saw you. I'm like, oh, he's in the room. But everybody, if you want to, and Evan, thank you very much. And if you guys want to follow Evan, there you go. He's at Evan Neerman on X. And Evan, once again, thank you very much for coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Enjoyed the discussion, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care, Barry.
All right, everybody. That was Evan Neerman. I know some of you, it's not your cup of tea. But one of the things I want to do on here, I talk to people all the way on the right, and I talk to people somewhat in the middle. Not going to talk to people on the left too much, although I would talk to somebody on the left if they actually can have a conversation. But some of them can't have conversations. But in any event, the idea is to broaden your scope. Understand what we're going through right now is completely unsustainable. If we are in a civil war, which I have said, well, civil wars, you have to recover from them. And when you recover from that civil war, you are going to have to heal. In order to heal, we are going to have to find a way to reach across the aisle to the other people. And I'm not even talking about the Evans of the world. I'm talking about the crazy ones. And you're going to see them at work. You may know them in your family. There's got to be some way we can reach some people and go, wake up. This is America. It's not Somalia. It's not France. It's not Europe. And we don't want you walking around with dog masks. And no, there is a dividing line. We don't believe in any way, shape, or form that men can become women and vice versa. Sorry. That's just the dividing line. We don't believe that you should be able to get rid of babies. Sorry, it's a dividing line. But you know what? Just because you want to put on a dress doesn't mean you're not an American. It just means, we just really disagree. And whatever you do in the privacy of your own home, you go ahead and do that. Just don't stay away from our kids. And people have to understand there are people who don't like certain things. And a good portion of people are never coming back. See, that's why I want to get people to the realization that I don't even know what percent of our society is never coming back to normal. I mean, I know my sisters and how they thought. I know some of Robin's family are Democrats. And I know that they have the capacity mentally to understand, okay, we differ on some things, but we're still Americans. There's some people out here who are communists, who are Marxists, who are socialists, who are never going to come back. And those people, unfortunately, are going to succumb to a strong America. And at this point, they'll have to be discarded. I don't know physically, but they just become the dregs of society like they were before. You know that. You know we always had dregs of society. We just didn't look at them. It wasn't social media. If you wanted to walk around with a dog mask or do certain things and bark, you probably did that in private. We're just seeing all this stuff now. So if you're not violent, if you're not doing anything, I don't care if you decide you want to go in the garage and put on a GIMP outfit. I just don't need to know about it. Social media has caused that problem. I'll be right back.
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, everybody. I want to give away some coffee before I start talking. 1775 Coffee and Rumble just unleashed the first anti-aging coffee and an insane longevity bundle at half price. This limited edition bundle is like the Fountain of Youth. If the Fountain of Youth also kicked your brain into overdrive and made your mornings less painful than a White House press conference. Inside, you're getting their top selling anti-aging coffee, the ultra rare Pea Berry blend, so exclusive it's basically the coffee world's secret handshake. An exclusive 1775 branded tumbler, plus more premium coffee and limited edition merch. You literally can't find this kind of a deal anywhere else. That's a $200 value for just $100. But here's the catch, only 1,000 bundles are being released. Once they're gone for good. Still not moving? Well, how about this? Every dollar you spend gets you a shot, a ticket per se, at winning a brand new Cybertruck and $30,000 of cash. But you only got 1 month left to enter. Go to 1775coffee.com/Barry right now to secure your longevity pack. Drink coffee that fuels your freedom, your values, and your life. And what's interesting, I saw a comment earlier. I had to put it up there. It says, Barry, I just ordered my second bag of 1775 coffee. It is delicious. And then I got one here. It says, I ordered the 1775 mushroom coffee, and I love it, and it's delicious. Thank you. Thank you for ordering that and supporting the channel. I want to show you something because I told you I was going to give some stuff away. So let me go ahead and make sure I refresh so I don't miss it. All right. There was a movie. See, here's some coffee. This is some 1775 coffee. So if you have a grinder at home, because this is pure whole coffee beans. Smells incredible. And I'm going to give 5 of these away, different flavors. 5 of these I'm going to give away. So mods, watch for the answer to this question. The first 5 people who have the answer to that question are going to win this coffee. You ready for the question? There was a movie, and that movie, one of the people in the movie said, sit right down. Coffee is for closers. So if I have to give you more hints, I will, but what movie? Not who said it. What movie was that from? Coffee is for closers. So right now people are going in and they're trying to search Google. That's if you drink coffee, but yeah, it's very nice packaging, baby queen. Coffee is for closers. And no, it's not liberal coffee. Do they have pods? They have pods as well, but I have these here with me. I'm looking, nobody knows it. Coffee is for closers. I'm giving away coffee, and I'm looking, and nobody knows what movie it's from. All right, so nope, not Wolf of Wall Street, not Tombstone. Somebody got it. Jeremiah Kerr. Jeremiah, you got the first one, I believe. Let me just make sure. Yes, you, and also number 2. All right, so I got 2 here. I got Jeremiah Kerr. Can you guys write that down? And also Fazul, mods, write that down. Let's see who we got. Victor Ontrieb, you got it. It's Glenn Ross. And I hope I'm doing these in order. And then Mighty Mouse. I think that's 5. So that's who won it. And mods, can you get a hold of them? Tell them to email us at the show mail. And we're going to ship out. I mean, this stuff, whew, it smells so good. I mean, it's amazing how good this stuff smells. Whew. And it's got great packaging, and we'll get that out to you. Got to have a grinder though. These particular bags are the whole beans. So if you want it, go ahead and contact one of the mods. Get your email address so we can go ahead and get it shipped out to you, because I don't want the stuff to get stale. All right. So great. By the way, it's a great movie. It was said by Alec Baldwin in that movie. And I think he was talking to Ed, what's Ed's name? Redheaded guy. And Al Pacino. Sit down. Coffee's for closers. And it's a sales movie. Great movie, by the way, if you've never seen it. Very, very good. Very good movie. All right. What if we don't watch Hollywood? Well, next time I'll make up something else. We'll come up with a different thing. I wanted to do that because, one, I said I was going to do it. Number two, I forgotten. I ended the hoodie contest on March 31st, which today's the first, so I forgot to roll it over. So we will take care of that. A couple things before I roll the what do you call it? The after party. Wanted to show you. I told you about the tariffs. You know what? I'll save these stuff to tonight. We're already at 3 hours, so I'm going to save the rest of these articles I want to talk to you about, because there's some really big stuff here that I want to bring to people's attention. So I'm going to save that because I don't want to be here for 4 hours. Don't want you sitting here for 4 hours and then tonight not have anything to talk about, which I'm sure we will have plenty. But let's go ahead and I'll save these articles for tonight. Tonight at 7 p.m. We'll be going live. All right, so let's go ahead and do the super chats right quick. Job for 9, thank you very much. Connie Cole, great job. She goes, I voted for Brad Schimmel this morning. God bless Wisconsin. Yeah, maybe by 7 o'clock we'll start seeing some early returns. Judith Fleischman, thank you. Mark of Reality, she nailed the Article 2 judge point, which is not an Article 3 judge. Article 2 judges are employees of the executive branch. Know the difference. Big time. He's talking about Caroline Levitt. Jen V, from yesterday's show, California used to have 50 oil refineries, now only 11. There's also a gas tax indexed to inflation. It goes up substantially each year. Jose Bazil, the problem is the dumbing down of people intelligence is almost by design, especially the young ones. Completely agree. Jose, again, I'm so glad I found your channel by accident. Keep up the fantastic work. Thank you, and thank you for coming. Bazul, you just won some coffee. Trump will take care of these brave ladies. I support that. You see, that led me into the interview with Evan. Because some people were complaining, oh, you see that lady? She's not part of it. She's with this organization. The dude is trying to reach across the aisle. If you don't see that, there's something wrong. He understands this country is eventually going to have to heal. So President Trump with Melania were there talking to some ladies. Marco Rubio is there, who may not even be close to being MAGA. But he knows for us to prosper as Americans and for this country to seriously be made great, we're going to have to bring some of these people. Remember, big tent. Nobody wants a little tent. If you want a little tent, you're going to be very, very disappointed. We need a big tent. And we need to make sure so many people are represented. Adam Duncan definitely can't cheap out on condiments. No, man, I got to have my Heinz. America Ramirez, Barry, and when the company's not selling because the used customers not buying, they will lower the prices. That's the idea. Maximus, Barry learned after many years that you always obtain the best intel and send out bad intel so that you draw the enemy into an ambush. Yep, he keeps them guessing, doesn't he? Angela Estelle, this guy I like a lot. He actually talks with logic and common sense. Thanks for having him on. Thank you, Angela. I really do. Thank you very much, because so many people were quick to say, I didn't want to hear from this guy, or you don't trust. I don't understand when people say, I didn't trust him. He's not doing anything. He's just having a conversation with you. You want to see something. I live in South Florida. And here in South Florida, I will go to a restaurant or some place of business, and there will be somebody inevitably. In fact, Robin and I went to brunch on Sunday. And, you go up to the hostess stand, you give them your name and everything. And she's like, yeah, we just have one table ahead of you. And we're seeing the people sitting down who are getting ready to go into the restaurant. And Robin goes, I think that's a tranny. And I went, where? She's like, over there. I think they're both trannies. And I'm like, doo-doo-doo. Yep. And they were. And you know what? The people who own this restaurant, they realized that these people had green dollars just as my dollars are green. They don't have the same ideology. And, obviously people were doing like this and looking. But you have to realize at this point that they're out there. And so Was I going to leave the restaurant because these people were being seated somewhere not near us? No, it ain't going to work that way. You got to make the tent bigger. And I'm saying this from a perspective of somebody who has been called as bigot, who's been called, even though I'm black, who's been called a racist, troglodyte, knuckle dragging. I've heard it all. But I know long term, in order for us all to win, some got to give and some got to take. And somewhere down the road, we're going to have to give a little bit just to heal the country. If you're not looking down and saying, okay, we got to do this, then we're just going to stay in this same state and fight. Sometime it's got to end. We want to win, but it's got to end. No doubt, it's got to end. All right, so Maximus, wait a minute, Anthill. We're only stagnant and begin dying when we don't change and improve. They will always exist. 20% who won't change as always have existed. Yeah, they're not going to change. With the 80% that are willing to improve and let the rest go. That's life. Maximus says, Barry, I'm always open to reach across the aisle. All are welcome as long as you have good intentions. In addition to intentions, respect. Respect. Many times I talk about my sporting background, and never mind my sporting background. You imagine being a boxer or somebody in MMA? Can you even imagine that? You're going to spend the next hour beating the absolute crap out of somebody in front of you. I can't even think of something that's more emblematic of what I'm saying right now. These two combatants, boxers, MMA people, female MMA, they're bloody, beat the, show your smile. And then what do they do after the fight? You shake hands. And that's why I can never box. That's why I can never do some of this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, you want me to get into a ring and beat up on somebody and twist them and try to give them some sort of submission hold and break their arm if I have to, and then afterwards I got to turn around if they give me a black eye or broke my nose, I got to go, good job, man. Like, hell no. If I get in a ring, I'm going to take you out. And then you realize when you talk to some of these guys in MMA, they switch off, they do what they need to do, but you always see them shake hands. Well, right now, this country is bloodied. We're all just ailing. And if you don't take this cue that I take, you are going to be in for some serious problems. So who am I taking the cue from? Donald Trump. That's the key. He's standing right there. That and God, too. God first. But the man got shot in the head. If the man got shot in the head and he's willing to work with the people who are willing to work with him, I have the way out. I want to just keep following him. Okay, what are we doing? Oh, we're going to bring in this lady here, or we're going to bring in this guy, and people may not like him because we're going to put this person in charge of the CDC. Have you seen who he brought in to head the CDC? Just saying. Did you see who he brought in to head the Department of Labor? Just saying. He's trying. Yeah, you stop the ones who get in your way, who don't want to come together. But when you find people who want to come together, you find that common ground. And I'm just watching him. I'm watching him. They're still nuts. They don't want nothing to do with us. That's fine. Go away. But every once in a while, you're going to see somebody, whether in sports or else. I'm going to talk to you about Stephen A. Smith later. I don't know what he's doing. That man looks like he's so conflicted, he doesn't know what he's doing. But he's trying. He's trying. Like, I don't like Trump. I wouldn't vote for him. But at the same time, that's where you start making your headway. When you see people, it doesn't make any sense to them either. What in the hell you people do? When you start seeing people who are looking for good, who really inside want good, may not like you, but like, I want this country to survive. That's where we begin talking. So I'm not going to keep going because we're at 3 hours here, but you guys know what I'm saying. You guys know exactly what I'm saying. Keep your eyes open. You know, it really, really is going to help down the road. Not looking to piss anybody off. Not looking to see people get mad. I'm just saying we got to get to a point. And you, like me, are going to have some non-negotiable points. I will never, ever, ever agree to your desire to get rid of babies. Nope, ain't going to happen. Sorry. We can agree on what football team, but this ain't going to happen. I am never, ever, ever going to agree to have my little granddaughter run around with somebody else's son in it. Nope, that's a line I'm not going to cross. There are going to be lines that you don't cross. That's it. That's that. We may not ever be able to discuss something because those are things I am not going to cross. But we could talk about some other stuff. Yeah. Hey, okay, you want to tax me. Okay, I don't want to pay 40, 50, whatever the percentage is. Let's agree. What's a number? What's a number we both can live with, understanding it's going to cause us both a little pain. It's going to cause you pain because you want more. It's going to cause me pain because I want less. So is it 12%? What's this fair share? Define it. Let's have a conversation. Let's define what fair share is. Put a number to it. 18? 16? I'm coming down here to 10. You're up here at 40. We're a long ways apart. Let's start discussing that. Find a commonality that you can discuss. Why would I pay 40%? Well, blah, 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 blah. That's why I'm in Florida. We're going to talk about Ron DeSantis getting rid of property taxes as well. So there's so much that we can talk about. So much. No votes on the same act or anything. Let me see it here. I've been looking for some new coffee. All right, everybody. We're going to be back here at 7. I got to go get something to eat. And then we'll see what kind of news happens in the next couple hours. All right. Talk to you soon.
you.